Chapter 263. Hinata, we need to increase our speed. I'll carry you. Hinata was stunned. Then, Naruto bent down and carried Hinata in a princess carry. Hug me. Hinata's eyes widened. Naruto carried me. Bang. Hinata's face turned red and vaporized. Hinata's heart was pounding. She didn't hear what Naruto said at all. Third gear, monstrous strength, fire. Dong. Naruto jumped up from the ground and rushed to the treetops. Because it was too sudden, Hinata cried out in surprise. Naruto couldn't speak while moving at high speed. He communicated with Hinata through the mental link. Sorry, I don't have wings this time, so it won't be very comfortable. The mental link was connected. Hinata replied in a panic. No problem. Naruto increased his speed. Their bodies, one stationary and one moving, squeezed together due to inertia. Bang! Hinata vaporized for the second time. After leaping onto a tall branch, Naruto finished accumulating power. At the same time, another layer of membrane appeared on his body. Fourth gear, monstrous strength. Jet. This time, it was activated at the bottom of his feet. Boom! Naruto rose into the air like a flaming sword. Naruto's new flying technique, jet flight. Compared to the stable flight in the past, the jet flight was extremely exciting. Hinata finally hugged Naruto tightly in shock. Hinata, activate Super Optic. Under the mental link, Naruto used Hinata's vision to look around. There was nothing within a kilometer. Naruto flew another kilometer. In his Byakugan vision, behind the boundless forest, there was a Gobi desert that connected to the sky. At a glance, it was a vast expanse. There was no suspicious target at all. Should he continue the carpet search? No, that would be too much of a waste of time. Naruto thought of a better idea. Hinata, look around and see if Kakashi-sensei and the others followed. Hinata looked around. At the same time, Naruto also observed with Super Optic. Noah, very good. Naruto took out 4 silver metal cards. Seeing the 4 cards, Hinata was surprised. Are you going to summon sisters? Naruto nodded and said, Summon Sister Xia first. Sister Xia's detection ninjutsu is very strong. It will be easier with her help. At this time, the rune shown on Natsuya Sakuraji's card aloud. The cards chooses the card softened. Then Naruto bit the thumb of his right hand, and the blood streaked across the curse seal on the card. Then he formed hand seals. Hai, Su, Yu, Shin, Wei. Finally, he pressed his hand on the ground. For a time, dark runes spread out from Naruto's palm like a spider web. Summoning Jutsu. At the same time, far away in the Woodleaf Ninja Village, in the shop owner's house, a circle of light surrounded Natsuya Sakuraji's feet. At the same time, the card attached to her left arm lit up. Seeing this scene, Cogni's eyes widened in surprise, then curled her lips and said with some disappointment, Naruto, Heisan is really biased. The first one he summoned is Sister Xia. At this time, the others sensed Chakra's movement and also looked over. In Natsuya Sakuraji's mind, Naruto's voice echoed, Teleportation will begin in 3 seconds. Please make sure that your clothes and socks are properly worn. If you want to terminate the teleportation, please do so through the client within 3 seconds. It is forbidden to suddenly jump out of the circle of light to avoid accidents. Please make sure that your body is completely standing in the circle of light. At the same time, make sure that the object you chose to travel with is completely inside the circle of light. Xia looked at the cake in her hand that was about to be put into the oven. Should she put it down? Or bring it with her? The message was transmitted very quickly, almost instantaneously, and then the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. I wish you a safe journey. This flight will be navigated by the most handsome vortex Naruto in history. In the circle of light, a beam of light rose above Natsuya Sakuraji's head, and after sensing no other objects, it closed and wrapped into a complete cylinder. With a flash of white light, Xia disappeared. The next moment, at the border of the land of fire and the land of wind, in front of Naruto. Boom! The highly concentrated chakra scattered in all directions, looking like a balloon filled with smoke that was suddenly punctured. Xia, who was holding an unbaked cake, appeared in front of Naruto. The three of them simply greeted each other. "Sister Xia, I want you to help me find an enemy." Xia replied with a smile, "Of course." Naruto described, "The enemy should be in a huge machine, somewhat like a ship, but on land, it can clear a path in the forest." Xia nodded. "Oh, I'll try." Then, Xia closed her eyes. Naruto felt as if a wave of wind was sweeping around. In fact, there was no real wind, but Naruto was sure that there must have been a force that changed the surroundings. If it wasn't chakra, then was it the force of nature? Naruto looked at Xia and found that a dark blue fire-like seal appeared between her eyebrows. 5 seconds later, Xia said, "Found it. It's 10 kilometers northwest of here." 10 kilometers. This range of perception is really strong. Hinata's Byakugan was pushed to the limit, but she could only see about 1.8 kilometers. Is the force of nature that strong? It seems that I have to study the Senjutsu mode when I have time. Should I go back and ask Sister Tsunade for advice? Go to Shikatsu Forest to learn Senjutsu before leaving? I can also study the differences between the Senjutsu of the 3 Holy Lands and the Seal mode. Thank you, Sister Xia. Do you want to walk around or send you back now? Xia was still holding the unbaked pastries in her hands. The pastries are still in the oven. I'd better go back. Naruto. Understood. See you next time, Sister Xia. All right, tell the 3 girls to get ready. I might need their help soon. Naruto made a hand seal and deactivated the spirit communication technique. At this time, the space tunnel opened by Xia hadn't closed yet, so the cost was much less than the summoning of chakra. Xia smiled and waved at Naruto and Hinata. "Okay, I'll inform them." Boom! The cloud of chakra dispersed and disappeared in front of his eyes. After Xia left, Naruto said to Hinata, "Come, I'll carry you." "You still want to carry me?" Hinata shyly moved over. Naruto carried Hinata in a princess carry. 4th gear monstrous strength exploded. Bang! They rose into the sky. Then, they exploded again in mid-air. Boom! Naruto flew towards the place Xia pointed at. Hinata was worried. Isn't it too fast? Hinata closed her eyes and buried her head in Naruto's arms, hugging Naruto's neck tightly, and replied, "It's okay." Naruto chuckled. "Do you want to be faster?" Hinata was shocked. "Faster?" Naruto instructed, "Use chakra to protect yourself." Hinata obediently covered herself with chakra. 5th gear monstrous strength. Charge. Fire. Kong. There was a loud explosion in the sky. Then, a layer of cloud exploded around Naruto's body. In the next moment, Naruto and Hinata's ears couldn't hear anything at the same time. This speed had reached supersonic speed. This also proved that the 5th gear in the normal chakra state was equivalent to the 3rd gear in the Nine Tails chakra state. Naruto used chakra to protect Hinata. Hinata was startled by the sudden silence of the world. She exclaimed to Naruto through the spiritual link, "Naruto-kun, my ears can't hear anything." Naruto smiled and replied through the spiritual link, "Don't worry, it's just faster than the speed of sound. Your ears aren't damaged. You'll be able to hear when I slow down." Faster than the speed of sound? Hinata opened her eyes. The trees in front of her were moving backwards so fast that it was impossible to see with the naked eye. It must be known that the eyes of the Hyuga clan are much sharper than ordinary people even in the normal state. Hinata mobilized chakra and activated Byakugan. This time, the vision was much clearer. She could feel the supersonic speed in depth. 25 seconds. Naruto arrived at his destination. In the yellow sandstone, a steel machine with a strange structure appeared in front of him. With a distance of 10 kilometers, a slight deviation in one direction can lead to a huge deviation. Fortunately, Naruto flew straight according to Xia's instructions, and with the assistance of Hinata's Byakugan. Naruto slowed down, and the sound of the world returned again. At this moment, Hinata suddenly felt that the sound of the world was very noisy. The sound of leaves blowing leaves, the sound of wind blowing sand and stones, and the sound of heartbeat and blood flow that hadn't subsided. Naruto raised his hand and gently covered Hinata's ears. The spiritual link said, "It'll be fine soon. I'm not used to it at first." Naruto's hand covered her ears. It was very warm. The tension in Hinata's heart eased a little. The feeling of being by Naruto-kun's side is so good. Feeling the warmth from Naruto's hand, Hinata wanted to be frozen in this moment forever. What am I thinking? So embarrassing. Boom. Hinata vaporized herself. Chapter 264. The steel machine before Naruto and Hinata was more appropriate to call it a steel fortress. It was 100 meters long, 15 meters wide and 30 meters tall. Its entire body was made of steel and it looked like a ship. However, there was a huge crusher at the front, which was used to crush trees to move through the forest. Hinata, use your Byakugan to check it out. Hinata increased the output of chakra and the sight before them became clear. Naruto was able to clearly see the internal structure of the steel fortress. Gears and tracks of various sizes were piled up together, as well as soldiers wearing steel armor and carrying spiked hammers. There was also a person who was placed inside a strange circular glass apparatus and was continuously injecting chakra into the steel fortress. Something worth celebrating was that there was no barrier blocking Byakugan's perception. Naruto asked Hinata to look up and they soon saw the person sitting on the throne. The person who was enveloped by chakra looked like a small sun through Byakugan's vision. Hinata was shocked. What is up with the chakra on this person's body? Naruto was also shocked. That group of white light, if he looked carefully, he could see that there were 3 groups fused together. One mass was on the right hand, one mass was on the left hand and one mass was on the heart. Naruto had a guess. Stone of Greya. Moreover, there were 3 of them. Shouldn't there only be one? Could it be this fellow had transplanted the stone of Greya recovered from the royal family's descendant into his body? But where did he get the other one? Could it be he found a mine? No, that shouldn't be the case. If he had found a mine, then this person would not be sitting here. He would have gone to the underground mine. Naruto quickly noticed that there was a person lying down in front of the person who looked like a small sun. There was also a group of people who were kneeling on the ground and begging for something. Byakugan's vision made it impossible to tell who was who. He could only vaguely make out that the glowing person was shouting something at those people. Naruto could not help but mutter, "A pity. I can't read lips." Read lips? Hinata's heart jumped. Did Naruto-kun need someone who could read lips? Then she just happened to know a little bit. Feeling nervous, Hinata tapped her hands in front of her chest. That Naruto-kun. I know a little lip reading. Naruto was stunned and quickly said, "Then help me see what that person is shouting." Hinata imitated the mouth movements of the people inside and said, "I'll give you 30 seconds. Greya mineral vein. Otherwise, I'll kill you, Grell Lode." If that was the case, then the people who were captured were the ones who disguised themselves as merchants and silently guarded the mine? For a moment, Naruto suddenly understood where the 3rd stone of Grail came from. Most likely, it was from this clan. 30 seconds passed. The glowing person raised his hand and one of the men in the crowd was suddenly sent flying. His body slammed into the wall and his head was smashed like a watermelon on the ground. Hinata continued to imitate the mouth movements of the glowing person. Every 10 seconds. I will kill one person. I hope you can make your decision quickly. After translating, Hinata could not help but say, "Naruto-kun, should we?" Naruto continued to calmly observe the room. Through his superciliary vision, he saw that in addition to the glowing person, there were 3 women standing at the side and tens of soldiers in steel armor carrying spiked maces. If he guessed correctly, the 3 women were the 3 mutants who could transform into wolves, bats, and bulge their muscles. Charging in just like that. That would be too arrogant and overconfident. Disregarding the strength of the three women, just the fact that they had 3 stones of Greyer on them was enough to make them cautious. Hinata, pay attention to the surroundings. I will summon Gunny and the others before charging in. As he said that, Naruto began to summon Gunny using the method of summoning Xia. In the living room of the Woodleaf Ninja Village's shop owner, the 3 girls were already prepared. They stood neatly in the living room, waiting for their summons. Little Gunny was a little anxious. Why haven't we summoned them yet? Didn't Sister Xia say that it's our turn soon? Gunny was still sitting in his wheelchair with his right hand on the armrest. He rubbed his cheek and said, I hope it's soon. I didn't even finish my cup of milk tea while waiting for me. At this moment, the light circle finally appeared. The cards of the 3 glowed at the same time. 3 glowing circles appeared for 3 seconds and disappeared together with a flash of white light. When they reappeared, they were already in front of Naruto. Little Gunny jumped up happily and hugged Naruto like an octopus. Naruto Onii-san, Gunny missed you so much. Naruto patted Gunny's head lovingly. Gunny then said in a strange voice, Master, I missed you too. However, there was no response. It was ignored. Naruto established a mental link with the 3 girls and said, Behind this mountain is the enemy's location. We will sneak in later. I will deal with one of the men inside. I will leave the rest of the soldiers and the 3 girls to you. While explaining, Naruto used his mental link to send all the information he knew to the 3 girls in the form of memory cards. Also, this operation needs to be fast. Don't leave the enemy behind. Use a storage scroll to take them away. Also, don't leave too many traces of your battle. Understand? Naruto glanced at the girls. Little Gunny said, You mean we didn't even come here, right? Naruto pinched Little Gunny's cheek and praised, Little Gunny, you're really smart. That's what I meant. Do you have any objections? The girls shook their heads. Naruto nodded and confirmed, Then let's go. Naruto was the fastest. Under the effect of body blink, Naruto appeared in front of the steel fortress in the blink of an eye. Then, he followed the path Hinata's X-ray, and successfully sneaked in. Along the way, he didn't stop even when encountering armored soldiers with spiked maces. His figure flitted through the blind spots of these steel towers and leaped over them. Finally, Naruto arrived at the door of the room. A camera locked onto Naruto, and a voice prompt said, Confidential place, please show your identity. Naruto grinned and clenched his right hand into a fist. This is my proof of identity. 3rd gear monstrous strength. Heavy punch. Naruto punched the iron door, and the iron door distorted, then flew out of the door frame and flew in. A delicate voice shouted from inside, Who's there? But in the next moment, Naruto appeared in front of the throne and unleashed another heavy punch. The person sitting on the throne was dressed in a pope's attire, with a blue cape and a pope's pointy hat on his head. The man raised his hand, a hand that looked no different from an ordinary person's, but at the moment when Naruto's fist was released, the hand suddenly became wide, and the color changed from normal skin color to dark brown. Boom! The 2 people's arms collided, and the throne under the person was directly shattered. At the same time, the person in the priest's attire was also sent flying. Naruto muttered in his heart, Is this the power of the Stone of Greyer? It's not that great. At this time, the woman guarding on the side finally reacted. While howling, her body mutated, and her whole body swelled by 1.5 times. At the same time, her appearance changed greatly, and she shouted, No matter who you are, you must die for harming Hyde-sama. An arc of electricity rose from the woman who had turned into a monster, and the woman rushed towards Naruto. Naruto pulled out the blue-sleeve sword and used the wind-release chakra scalpel under the effect of wind-release storm wound. The sword was extremely fast, but an invisible force suddenly bounced Naruto back, causing the attack to miss. The tip of the sword swept across the ceiling, tearing a 2-meter-wide, 5 to 6-meter-long hole in the steel texture of the ceiling. Naruto bounced back 7 meters before stopping. Naruto looked in the direction of the strange force. There, A hand reached out from the wall where a human figure had been smashed. It was pointing at him. Naruto's mouth cracked into a smile. Oh, it seems interesting. Chapter 265. When the man embedded in the iron wall squeezed out of the wall, Naruto couldn't recognize him at all. White hair, dark skin, red vertical pupils, and the strangest thing was that there were 4 diagonal wings on his back. Naruto couldn't help but ask, "What kind of monster are you? Are you a kind of human?" Naruto clearly saw the transformation process of this guy's body, but he didn't see any traces of curse imprints. Could it be that he discovered a new species? The man called Lord Hyde grinned and raised his hand towards Naruto. Why not? As he spoke, a pushing force came crashing over again. Naruto was on guard. Chakra poured into his feet and forcibly withstood it. But the steel under Naruto's feet that was connected to his body was distorted into a one-sided wavy shape under this blow. This blow was very strong. And it wasn't a wind escape attack, but more like a repulsive force. Hyde was extremely surprised that Naruto could withstand this blow. He praised, "You're very strong. Then let's see if you can take another blow from me." As he spoke, he raised his hand towards Naruto again. But this time, Naruto used the wind escape blink technique to directly disappear from his place. A huge force swept over, and the iron wall of the mechanical stronghold was directly blasted open. A circular hole with a diameter of 3 meters was blasted open. The steel was overturned, as if it had been blasted open. There was no trace of Naruto in the hole. Only a voice echoed, "Teisuke, I took your blow just to understand your ability. Do you think I'll just stand there and let you attack me? You think I'm stupid?" Hyde looked around and mocked. "Then what's next? After testing me and confirming that you can't beat me, you hide like a mouse? Then you're quite self-aware." Naruto mocked back, "Hyde? You overestimate yourself. The power you possess is merely a solidified version of chakra. I have much more of chakra in my body than you do." The next moment, Naruto appeared behind the woman who had attacked Naruto. The green-sleeved sword chopped down. It was the same sword attack as before, but the difference was that the monster did not have time to save them this time. The muscular monster's body was split in 2. Naruto said coldly, "Too weak. If you were a little stronger, you might be able to pique my interest." Seeing one of his men die, Hyde's red eyes shrank. He pointed his hands at Naruto and roared, "You're courting death." The repulsive force spread out. The 4 steel walls of the house were pushed up like a balloon. The ordinary people lying on the ground were squeezed by the force and their bodies exploded one after another. Blood instantly spilled all over the ground. Then, the whole room exploded. However, although the attack was fierce, it failed to hit Naruto. Naruto disappeared once again. Hyde's roar came to an abrupt halt when he saw the people who had been killed by his attack. His head buzzed. This caravan was a clue he had recently found regarding the Greyer mine. But now, these people were dead. This clue was cut off. Hyde was suddenly at a loss. Then he roared angrily, "You sinful bastard! These people all died because of you." Naruto rolled his eyes. How could this be blamed on him? He mocked back, "Your mother gave birth to you so ugly. Are you going to blame your neighbor, Uncle Wong?" Hyde pointed at the source of the voice and shouted, "Found you!" The repulsive force exploded. At the same time, the sound of the wind suddenly rang out behind Hyde. But in truth, by the time he heard the sound of the wind, it was already too late. The sword was faster than the sound. A line of blood streaked across Hyde's neck. Hyde's face still had the same expression as before. Naruto mocked, "Is this your first time fighting a ninja? I didn't know there was such a thing as a shadow clone in this world." Hyde's head slid down and fell to the ground with a plop. Naruto raised his head. Suddenly, his vision turned black. There was no gravity under his feet. He felt that he had suddenly fallen into a pitch-black world. A big face looked down at him in mid-air. Illusion attack? When did it happen? Naruto found that he didn't feel it at all. However, the illusion disappeared as quickly as it came. After a scream, Naruto's vision returned to normal. He saw Batgirl nailed to a place not far from him by a steel pillar. Naruto, Gidge, you were too careless. Little Gunny ran over to him. Naruto took a deep breath and replied, "Actually, I was very careful. But I still don't know how I got caught in the illusion." Gunny walked in and explained, "It's an illusion created by sound waves. Master's cultivation is far from enough." Sound wave illusion? Naruto thought of the information he read in Sannin. It did talk about illusions, but it didn't say it was a sound wave illusion. And he didn't hear anything just now. Could it be that the sound waves emitted by the bats could also create illusions? It seemed that he had to do some research in this area. Not far from Batgirl, who was nailed to the ground, was the woman who had transformed into a werewolf. She was luckier than Batgirl. Batgirl's heart was pierced. She spat out blood and died after a few moves. The werewolf was nailed to the waist. The werewolf tried to move her body, but the steel pillar had bent at some point. The intense pain made her tremble. She whimpered, "Who are you people?" Naruto couldn't be bothered to answer this idiotic question. He squatted down and asked, "You people aren't that strong. How did you manage to hold off my love for so long?" The werewolf's face was still that of a wolf's head. To be honest, this wolf was quite handsome. Its face was covered in white fur, just like a husky. Unfortunately, it wasn't a real husky. If it was, he would have captured it and kept it at home. With that thought in mind, Naruto didn't wait for the werewolf to answer. He raised his sword and prepared to end her. The werewolf suddenly begged, "Wait. Don't kill me. I'm willing to surrender." Naruto's sword paused. He thought for a moment and replied, "Sorry, I can't accept surrenders due to special reasons. But don't worry, my sword will be quick. You won't feel any pain." Naruto was about to cut her down. If he kept her alive, the fact that Gunny and the others were here would be exposed. That wasn't what Naruto wanted. He didn't want the other members of Woodleaf to know that he could summon Gunny and the others. The werewolf shouted again, "Wait." Naruto's sword almost cut through the werewolf's neck. The werewolf was so scared that she cried. At the same time, the mutation on her body disappeared, revealing a beautiful face. With tears streaming down her face, she said, "I beg you, can you not kill me?" "Whoa." Naruto gritted his teeth and raised his sword again. The werewolf looked at Naruto as she cried. Naruto said angrily, "Do you think I'll let you go just because you cry?" The werewolf continued to cry. Naruto raised his sword again, but he realized that he couldn't cut her down. Naruto's little face darkened. "You can't do this. You're a warrior. You should have some backbone." The werewolf said, "Those with backbone are all dead." Naruto was speechless. At the same time, he was attracted by the werewolf's cuteness. He couldn't help but laugh. But in the next moment, his voice turned cold. "You want to attack me when I let my guard down, right? I've seen through your scheme." He raised his sword again. The werewolf looked up at Naruto on the ground with tears in her eyes. Naruto's hand was shaking. He couldn't cut her down. Finally, he gave up. "I hope you don't make me regret my decision today. Otherwise, even if you die, I'll let you live to repent." Then, he turned to Gunny and said, "Teleport her back to Woodleaf later. Let her stay at the store manager's house and let Xia teach her how to make pastries. If she can't learn, I'll kill her when I get back." The werewolf said happily, "You're not going to kill me?" Naruto pretended to be sinister. "I'll keep you by my side and ravage you every day. It'll be a life worse than death. Are you scared? If you are, I'll send you on your way now." The werewolf shook her head. "As long as I don't die, I'm willing to do anything. Before I was captured by Lord Hyde. No, before I was captured by Lord Hyde, I was just a maid in a noble house. I'm good at serving people." Really? What else could Naruto say? It was so hopeless to meet such a person. "Gunny, remove the steel pillar first. The steel pillar shrunk under Gunny's control and was removed from the werewolf's abdomen. Naruto used the divine palm technique to heal the werewolf. The wound only penetrated her flesh. This kind of injury was nothing. With the divine palm technique speeding up cell division, the werewolf would be healed in no time. Tell me about your body. Since the werewolf was so cooperative, Naruto planned to ask her what it was like to transform into a werewolf. However, to Naruto's surprise, the werewolf suddenly became shy and replied, "I'm still a virgin. Still AF * king virgin." That's not what I'm asking. Naruto's face suddenly darkened. The werewolf thought that Naruto did not believe her and hurriedly said, "It's true. When I was a maid in that noble house, I was still very young, so they did not do anything to me. Later on, I was captured by Hyde. Hyde? He likes men." Pfft. Naruto choked. He could not help but look at the old man beside him whose head had fallen to the ground. He did not expect to hear such news. However, Naruto was also quite tired. He repeated, "What I want to ask is how your body can transform into a werewolf." The werewolf was stunned and blushed. "Ah, that's what you're asking?" Chapter 266. The girl replied, "That's why Hyde caught me, but I don't know what's going on." "Well, I asked for nothing." Naruto waved his hand and asked Gurney to take her to the side. He turned around and walked towards Hyde. His gaze fell on the stone of Greer in his left hand. Chakra in the solid state. Interesting. Then, Naruto used Chakra scalpel to dig out the stone embedded in Hyde's flesh. But the moment Naruto touched the stone, the giant egg in the sealed space of 9 tails suddenly cheered and said excitedly, "Delicious. I want to eat." Then, without waiting for Naruto's consent, a white silk thread extended from Naruto's hand and connected to the stone of Greer. The stone of Greer lit up with emerald green light. Where the light shone, Hyde's bloody hand began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Naruto was shocked. At the same time, after the energy flowed into his body, Naruto's hair began to grow. From the kiwi's fluffy hair to a hedgehog's head, it turned into a shawl and continued to grow. Soon, it reached his waist. Naruto stroked his golden hair in a daze. He muttered to himself, "Is it too long?" But what was even more shocking was that Hyde's eyelids, which should have been dead, moved. Then, his eyeballs turned to look at Naruto. Naruto was shocked and instinctively kicked the head away. The head smashed into the metal wall. It sounded like a flattened persimmon. This time, he couldn't be more dead. Naruto looked back at the corpse and found that the hands were touching the ground as if they were searching for something. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. It felt like a cat and mouse movie that was suddenly interrupted by a grudge movie. What the F***ck? Naruto quickly took out the other 2 stone of Greer from Hyde's body with the green sleeve sword. When the green light in Naruto's hand dissipated, the abnormalities finally stopped. At this time, Naruto's hair had already grown to his ankles. In the sealed space of 9 tails, the giant egg glowed, and the pentagram engraved on it lit up as well. However, it did not light up for long before it returned to normal. "Daddy, Jojo, Mommy, I'm going to sleep. Good night." The egg was quiet. The baby egg was sleeping soundly. 9 tails glanced at the giant egg and snorted. However, she then laughed at Naruto and said, "Naruto, I think you look more like a mother now. Are you finally going to grow your hair after being pregnant and laying eggs?" Naruto's face instantly darkened. "Teacher 9th Lamas, I don't think the focus is on my hair, but the energy in this stone. I don't think it's an ordinary chakra." 9 tails sat up. "It's indeed not ordinary. It contains more life force than my chakra. No, you can say that this stone is condensed from life force." "It's all life force?" Naruto said, "That can't be right." Hinata's Byakugan saw chakra's fluctuations. 9 tails sat cross-legged in the cage, his right hand supporting his chin as he pondered. "Isn't chakra the fusion of life force and spiritual power? This stone contains a huge amount of life force. If it's transplanted into a person's body, the person's spiritual power will combine with it. Isn't that chakra? Could it be like this? Naruto looked around the hall to see if he could find anything else. Finally, he found a book among the fragments of the stone chair. Naruto remembered that this should be the Book of Grail, which recorded the Stone of Grail. Naruto flipped through it, but awkwardly. He couldn't understand the words on it. Werewolf, yes, you. Come here. Can you understand the words on it? The wolf girl came over and said timidly, My name is Fugai. Then the wolf girl looked at the book in Naruto's hand and nodded. I can understand it. This is the language of my hometown. Naruto was relieved when he heard it. But even if the wolf girl, Fugai couldn't understand it, he still had the Edo Tensei. He could reincarnate Hyde and ask him directly. Or the old peddler. Thinking of the poor old peddler, Naruto walked over and checked his body. He couldn't be more dead. All his internal organs were broken. Even Tsunade's medical ninjutsu couldn't save him. Naruto pulled out a few strands of the old man's hair. If Naruto couldn't find the Grail vein in the future, he could summon him and ask. Then Gurney and the others left with the wolf girl Fugai. Naruto walked to Hinata's side. Hinata's face was a little pale. It should be because of the dead bodies in the room. Sorry, I didn't save them. Hinata shook her head. It's not Naruto-kun's fault. Naruto-kun tried his best. Naruto smiled bitterly. Don't excuse me. Maybe I didn't want to save them at all. They can only keep the secret when they die. I'm very cold-blooded. Hinata shook her head again and again. No, Naruto-kun is not cold-blooded at all. Naruto-kun must want to save them. Naruto took a deep breath and hugged Hinata, who still wanted to explain. Then if I'm such a cold-blooded person, would you still be willing to be by my side? The heavy topic weakened Hinata's shyness quite a bit. Hinata was not as flustered as usual. Instead, she replied with certainty, I would. Naruto hugged Hinata tightly. In fact, Naruto was also a little scared. As he absorbed the psychic energy of different people, he could feel that his personality was affected in all aspects. The simplest example was when he absorbed the psychic energy of the Ghost Brothers for the first time in the Wave Kingdom mission. After that, he no longer had any fear of killing people. Then stay by my side forever. Was this the truth? It was also a love talk. Hinata's shyness, which had been weakened a lot, was once again stimulated. Her heartbeat accelerated, and her pale face turned slightly red. She replied in a soft voice, Yes, I will always be by Naruto-kun's side. But this sentence was getting softer and softer. In the end, she was not sure if she could hear it. The two hugged for a long time. Hinata gathered her courage and said, Naruto-kun, that day I eavesdropped on your conversation with Sakura Haruno. Naruto continued to hug Hinata. He closed his eyes and murmured, I know. Have you made your choice? Naruto-kun actually knew. Hinata thought about it and remembered that the shop manager's house had a perception enchantment. She could not help but feel embarrassed and angry at herself for being so stupid. She pouted and replied, I want to be with Naruto-kun forever, but I'm afraid. Naruto raised his hand and stroked Hinata's short hair. What are you afraid of? Hinata hugged Naruto and played with Naruto's long hair because of nervousness. She replied, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I'm too weak and useless by your side. I can't do anything well. The desserts I make will never be as delicious as Sister Xia's. My physical skills are also not as good as Sister Xia's. My supercilious eyes are not as far as Sister Xia's. Naruto asked gently, why do you compare yourself with Sister Xia? Hinata was stunned. She played with Naruto's golden hair and replied, Because I can't compare with Sister Xia in anything. Naruto smiled and said, I can't compare with her either. But there is one thing that you are better than Sister Xia, and even better than everyone else. Hinata was confused. What? Hinata said that she had been looking for her own shining point for several months but still couldn't find it. Naruto rubbed Hinata's head. "It's that I like you." Hinata blinked. She did not understand at first. But after she understood, she hugged Naruto tightly and said happily, "Yes." Nine Tails mocked Naruto's ear. "Tisk, it's a miracle that you're so narcissistic." Naruto replied, "Noisy." Then he cut off the spiritual sharing with Nine Tails and continued to hug Hinata happily. The two hugged like this for a long time. Hinata suddenly raised her head and said, "That. Naruto-kun, can you promise me something?" Naruto replied seriously, "Anything." Hinata's eyes lit up. "That. Naruto-kun, your long hair feels so good. Don't cut it, okay? Just keep it long." Naruto's face instantly looked like he had eaten such asterisk tea. Hinata persevered and asked, "Naruto-kun, you said you would promise me anything." "Naruto." "Hinata, you can't go back on your words. If you say that you like me is also a lie, then I won't have any advantages that are better than Sister Xia." Naruto's little face darkened. "Hinata, Naruto-kun?" "Hinata, Naruto-kun?" "Hinata, Naruto-kun?" Naruto said helplessly, "Okay. I lose to you," Hinata said happily. "Yes, yes." Hinata has also started to grow her hair. She wants it to be as long as Naruto-kun. What was the meaning of this? Naruto didn't understand. However, a sentence popped up in his heart. "When your hair reaches your waist, marry me." If this sentence was used on him, it would be a pain in the ass. However, there was one thing that Naruto was more concerned about. Although his hair had grown long this time, the beard on his face didn't grow. Hinata hugged Naruto and rubbed against him. Then, she climbed out of Naruto's arms and measured her height. She said in surprise, "Naruto-kun, you seem to have suddenly grown a lot taller." Chapter 267. Hyde was dead, and so were the people guarding the mine. Other than the wolf girl, there were no survivors in the entire mechanical fortress. Some were secretly killed by Naruto's doppelgangers. Because of these people, the news of the Stone of Grayer and the mine would be spread. This kind of him was not the kind of person that Hinata was talking about. Naruto and Hinata sat outside the steel fortress to keep watch. The unpleasant smell of rust lingered in the air for a long time. "Hinata, don't tell anyone about Gunny and the others." Hinata leaned on Naruto's side, fiddling with Naruto's hair. "Okay, I know." Naruto looked into the distance. The Wood Leaf Special Assembly signal flare had been released, and now they were waiting for Kakashi and the others to come. But in fact, Naruto did not think that Kakashi could find this place from 10 miles away. To a certain extent, it was more like a formality. "It's about the Stone of Grayer, so don't tell anyone." Hinata held a strand of golden hair in each hand, playing with each other. "Okay." Naruto thought for a while. There seemed to be nothing else. Hinata took the initiative to ask, "Then, if you want to know how I found this place, what should I say?" Naruto thought for a while and replied, "Just say that I was taking you for a walk and found this place." Hinata raised her head and looked at Naruto. "Isn't that too perfunctory?" Naruto said indifferently, "Who cares? We're leaving anyway." Hinata thought about it and nodded, continuing to fiddle with Naruto's hair. Then, "Naruto-kun, let me comb your hair? And change your hairstyle?" Naruto's face darkened at the mention of hair. He suggested, "Hinata, your hair is too long now. Cut it short." Hinata pouted unhappily at the mention of haircut. "You promised me to keep it." Naruto's liver hurt. He suddenly missed his bald head. He sighed helplessly. Yes, yes, yes. I promise you, but cut it short. With my current length, I can step on hair when I walk. It's very painful." Hinata thought for a while. "Then, cut your legs. That way, you won't step on hair." "Naruto, shoulders." Hinata refused to back down. "Absolutely not." "Naruto, back. Hinata shook Hinata. Naruto, how about the waist? Her hair reaches her waist and is already very long. Hinata frowned and stepped back slightly. Thighs. Naruto's original height growth was relatively fast. At the age of 12, he was nearly 1.68 meters tall. This time, with the vitality flowing into the stone of Grayer, his height increased to 1.7 meters. His hair reaching his thighs. It's really long. Hinata pouted. You promised me. You see, Jiraiya-sama's hair is also very long, but he's also very handsome. Jiraiya is handsome? Obviously, he has the face of a middle-aged man who has drunk too much. By the way, since his hair is also very long now, should he go back and find Jiraiya to learn his messy lion's hair jutsu? Because of Guni's incident, Naruto and Jiraiya haven't been in contact for a long time. At the same time, because of this incident, Naruto's original intention of matchmaking Jiraiya and Tsunade also faded. But one thing can't be avoided. The key to 9 tails is with Jiraiya. So, this time when he goes back and learns the messy lion's hair jutsu, then contact Jiraiya? At the same time, let Jiraiya teach him how to use the power of 9 tails? By the way, he can also go to Mount Mayaboku and then slip away. Perfect. Well, I'll listen to you and keep it until thighs. Naruto pinched Hinata's face. Unlike Naruto, who grew fast as if he ate fertilizer, Hinata still has the appearance of a little lowly. With a height of 1.5 meters, when the two stood together, Naruto's chin was just enough to put Hinata's head. The most cute height difference. Hinata nodded seriously. Hinata will also grow her hair. The two of them sat on top of the steel fortress for a long time, but no one came. The sky was getting darker and darker. Naruto suddenly had an idea. By the way, Hinata, why don't we go inside and search for more valuables? I suddenly remembered that I still owe the store manager a lot of money. Therefore, the two of them jumped down and jumped back through the hole in the wall. At the same time, Naruto reminded him, by the way, don't tell anyone about this either. Hinata pulled Naruto's hair and replied cheerfully, yes, yes. Thus, the two of them began to plunder. Naruto didn't expect that the battleship would have a lot of gold, silver and jewels stored in it. Wherever they passed, it was like a swarm of locusts. Not only did they collect money, but they also collected food and wine reserves. At night, after the search, Naruto released another signal flare. In the dark night, a red signal flare rose into the sky, and it continued to shine for 3 minutes before it went out. This time, Kakashi and Sanin's ninjas finally arrived. When they saw the corpses all over the fortress, Hanbao and Kankuro looked at Naruto in a different way. Did you kill all of these? The light on the fortress continued to shine, shining on Hanbao's face. Hanbao's face was a little pale. Inside the fortress, in front of everyone, Naruto and Hyde were fighting. Because of Hyde's repulsive force, the iron sheet above and below the house was pushed open in a circular shape. The blood of the corpses gathered along the sunken ground, forming a blood pool. At this time, it had solidified into dark and dried blood, creating a strong visual impact. Naruto was still holding Hinata's hand and kindly replied, not all of them, some were affected by the battle, but almost all of them. So, our mission is completed, right? Can we go back to Woodleaf? Hanbao was tongue-tied. He didn't know how to answer. However, my love was relatively calm. Did you find out the purpose of these people's attack? Naruto smiled and shook his head. They killed too fast, I didn't have time to ask. The conversation ended here. Then Kankuro left on the pretext of checking whether there were any survivors. Hanbao followed. Only the 4 people of Woodleaf and my love were left in the same place. My love stared at the dried blood pool on the ground for a while, his eyebrows wrinkled, then he turned and jumped out of the hole that Hyde blasted open. Kakashi and Sakai checked the wounds of the corpses near the blood pool. These are ordinary people? Kakashi frowned. Hinata quickly explained, these people weren't killed by Naruto, they were. Naruto pulled Hinata's hand. It doesn't matter anymore, they're all dead, it doesn't matter who killed them. Let's go outside and look at the moon. Naruto left with Hinata, and Kakashi's frown eased a lot. He muttered, the wounds on these people don't look like they were done by Naruto. The second inspection, the entire stronghold was still not spared. A large number of corpses were moved out, burned, and buried on the spot. Naruto's pseudo-mental link connected to my love. By the way, there's something I need to tell you. When you go back, tell your teacher that among the scrolls I bought for Sannin, there's something that he'll be interested in. Let him see, the scrolls are with the cute girl who bought 100 scrolls. Chapter 268. Sannin's request for help was completed. Kakashi's team returned to Woodleaf. It took them a week to return from the village. However, what Naruto didn't expect was that they encountered a big piece of news when they returned. Tsunade abandoned Naruto's position and ran away. The reason was that Jiraiya found out that Tsunade used Edo Tensei to resurrect Kaito and Nuki. Kisuke, it feels like Woodleaf is finished. Naruto couldn't help but sigh when he heard the news from Jiraiya's mouth, because he happened to be preparing to run away. Jiraiya was in a bad mood, watching the leaves fluttering with his arms crossed. After a while, he sighed helplessly, I didn't expect that after so many years, she still didn't forget that person. She even used Edo Tensei to resurrect him. At this time, Jiraiya didn't have his usual playful smile. Naruto held the hair in his hand and sat not far from Jiraiya. He wanted to comfort him, but he didn't know what to say. In the end, he couldn't help but ridicule, who told you to hide your little thoughts? If you like her, go after her. Now that she's gone, what's the use of being sad? Jiraiya was taken aback and unexpectedly didn't hide his thoughts. Instead, he said with some expectation, you think I should pursue her now, right? Naruto shook his head. Since Tsunade-san has already made a decision, then I support Tsunade-san's decision. I support her to be with Seiji. Jiraiya suddenly became excited. Edo Tensei isn't really resurrecting people, but a forbidden technique that requires the sacrifice of living people. Naruto didn't take it seriously, then I should support it even more. Even if you become a man-eating Shura, your intention to be with the person you love is even more admirable and sacred. Besides, do you think a ninja is short of human lives? If they can kill people because of a few hundred or 10,000 Ryo mission, then what's the point of killing people for the person they love? At this time, Koharu and Mitokado Homura came over. Koharu heard Naruto's words and scolded, nonsense. The people who are to be killed in the mission all deserve to be killed. How can it be compared to selfish desires? Naruto looked over and ridiculed without restraint. What you said about whether they should be killed or not is also a judgment driven by interest. It's not much more noble. When Kochen saw that Naruto dared to disobey her words, she shouted angrily, how dare you? Who are you? He actually dared to utter such arrogant words. Looks like you're the same as your teacher. For a time, 4 Umbu ninjas appeared around Naruto. From the looks of it, as long as Shao Chun gave the order, Naruto would be captured. At this time, Jiraiya stood up and smiled, Kohara-sensei, you're too serious. Naruto just misses Tsunade too much. Koharu took a deep breath. I think Tsunade didn't teach her well. She doesn't even know how to respect her elders. Seniority. Alright, when you die, I'll offer you a flower and wish you all the best. Since Tsunade had left Woodleaf, Naruto felt that there was no reason for him to stay here any longer. Jiraiya changed the topic. Kohara-sensei, why did you come to me this time? Koharu glanced at Naruto. Naruto took the initiative to say, since the adults want to discuss important matters, I'll leave first. After saying that, Naruto left. After Naruto left, Koharu said, at least he has some self-awareness. Then she said, Tsunade is no longer suitable to be Naruto again. Homura and I have always thought that you should be Naruto. Mitokado Homura also said, Woodleaf is now in troubled times. We need someone who can hold up the sky. Jiraiya hesitated. On the other side of the alley, Naruto triggered the perception enchantment on his body. This was a perception enchantment drawn by Naruto himself. Because Chakra's transmission cost was low, the perception range was larger. After the perception enchantment was triggered, a sphere with a diameter of 200 meters was propped up. Naruto increased Chakra's transmission. The 200-meter circle had doubled in size. Within the range of the perception enchantment, Naruto found the 4 Umbu ninjas. The surveillance of the Umbu ninjas had been cancelled when Tsunade was here, but the surveillance began again. However, Naruto was very disdainful of this. He mocked in his heart, "Do you think you can monitor your grandpa Naruto?" As he said that, he made hand seals. Multiple shadow clone jutsu. Boom. Boom boom. 500 Naruto appeared around him and then scattered in all directions. Naruto mixed in with a few clones. With the help of multiple shadow clone jutsu, perception enchantment, and mental link, he quickly got rid of the 4 ninjas. Naruto returned to the store manager's house, and the girls greeted him. It's worth mentioning that the wolf girl looked quite pretty in the same maid costume as Xia. "Dabi, how's the task I gave you?" Before leaving, Naruto gave the project of digitizing the curse seal to Dabi and let Dabi complete it with the girls. Little Gunny took out a card and gave it to Naruto and said, "Naruto, Senpai has already finished the research with us. Try it." Naruto took the card from Little Gunny's hand. The rune lines were linked to the card. Well, a thin layer of the card was full of runes. It was so dense that one could vomit at a glance. It could be said that it was 100 times more complicated than a circuit board. Huh? No, it's encrypted. Soon, Naruto saw the trick in the runes. He tried to decipher them and found that the curse seal was missing. He couldn't decipher it? Naruto looked at Little Gunny and asked, "Encrypted?" Little Gunny took out a golden card and said, "This is a contract card. You need to drip a drop of blood on it and inject chakra into it." Naruto did as he was told, and a curse seal was drawn from the card onto Naruto's body. Little Gunny said, "Now, you just have to inject chakra into the card from before." Naruto praised, "The encryption is good. You've improved." When Naruto connected the card, he felt that he was connected to a network of mental links. The girls greeted Naruto through the link, "Master, how was it? We did it together. Isn't it great?" This was Gunny. "Huh? There's an extra person. Is that Naruto?" This was Sakura Haruno, who was not present. The most shocking thing was a female voice full of socialite aura. "Boss, I'm Big Fatty." F***CK. Big Fatty has learned how to speak through the mental link. Naruto praised, "Very good. You've connected the mental link of so many people, but the consumption of chakra is almost negligible. You've done well." Big Fatty said proudly, "This energy consumption can be even lower. If we can catch a tailed beast and use its chakra as a server to maintain the mental link, not only will we not consume energy, but we can also gain the support of chakra." Naruto was about to praise Big Fatty when Nine-Tails' voice suddenly sounded, "Little brat, what did you just say? Who do you want to use as a server?" Big Fatty was dumbfounded. "Boss, who is this?" Naruto mourned for Big Fatty in his heart and replied, "Since you know about tailed beasts, then, you should be Nine-Tails sealed in my body." Nine-Tails spoke again, "I'm the tailed beast you're talking about. Little brat, do you want me to be your server?" Big Fatty trembled. However, Naruto's eyes lit up. "Nine-Tails as a server? It's worth a try," he said. "Nine Llama Sensei, it's worth a try." Nine-Tails was dumbfounded. Chapter 269. On the second day of Naruto's return, Kakashi came to find Naruto, not personally, but because the 2 elders of Woodleaf wanted to ask him questions. They actually let Kakashi-sensei pass on a message. They don't treat Jonin as a cadre, do they? Kakashi was not as idle as before. He looked a little serious, or rather nervous. "Kohara-sama wants to ask you something about Tsunade-sama." "Naruto, come with me." Why did it have to be Kakashi? Did these old guys know that if it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to invite him? It shouldn't be, there weren't many people in Woodleaf who knew his true strength. Unless the 3 cats, dogs, and monkeys from the Umbu department told the 2 old guys that he killed Danzo. Hiss. It's really possible. What an ungrateful bunch, I was so good to you in the past. Wait for me, I can't go in my pajamas. Naruto turned into the house. Kakashi stood in place. Naruto looked back at Kakashi. Don't you want to come in and sit for a while? Kakashi still stood in place. I'll wait outside, you hurry up. Naruto raised his eyebrows and turned into the house. Xia was puzzled. Are you going out? Naruto took a sip of the milk tea and replied, well, the 2 elders of Woodleaf want to ask me questions. Xia said obediently, do you need us? Naruto smiled, no, if there is really danger, I will call for help in the spiritual network, then you can summon me. Xia smiled brightly, this is a good way, but you can also summon me if necessary. Naruto was stunned, seeing that Xia was serious, he said unexpectedly. As the eyes of the underground exchange, you can't stand up directly against Woodleaf, right? Xia tilted his head. When did I say we were eyes? Although we are members of the exchange, we don't have a mission at the moment. Weren't Xia and Chun the spies of the Fire Nation in Woodleaf? Naruto blinked and asked foolishly, then at Woodleaf. Xia Cutie imitated Naruto and blinked her eyes, replying, because young mistress wanted us to teach you swordsmanship and protect you. Huh? Oh, indeed, if it weren't for him, Xia Hachuan would have left when Canon Chiba returned home for her birthday. Then, the spies of the Fire Nation were... Naruto suddenly thought of something. He licked his lips and said, the person who came last time. Xia Lianlian nodded and said, yes, he is the Fire Nation spy in Woodleaf. F***CK. Was that guy a spy for the daimyo of the Fire Nation? Naruto couldn't help but ask, is it really okay to kill him? Xia said calmly as usual, what's the problem? If someone dies, we can just send another one. Okay. 5 minutes later, Naruto changed his clothes and left with Kakashi. In the spiritual network, Little Gunny said to Naruto, call us if you need us. Hinata, who wasn't present, asked, did something happen to Naruto-kun? Hinata had connected to the spiritual network with Naruto yesterday. So now, the Gunny trio, the Sakuragi sisters, the 3 cute pets Fat Snake, Rolling Naruto, Hinata, Sakura Haruno, She-Wolf, and even Kabuto in his Edo Tensei state were in the spiritual network. However, the Fat Snake and Rolling hadn't learned how to communicate through the spiritual network. Little Gunny had been working hard on this before Naruto came back. Naruto replied to Hinata, don't worry, I'll let you know if there's anything. But I think it's about time to leave Woodleaf. You guys should get ready, it'll take at most a month. As a result, everyone in the spiritual network started chatting noisily. During this period, Kabuto had been lurking in the spiritual network. Until Naruto took the initiative to find Kabuto, has Hinata's clone been cultivated? Medicine Master replied, since last night, under the constant catalysis, the embryo has grown to the size of a baby. To be honest, I'm starting to fall in love with this Edo Tensei state, because I can work without sleep and rest. This feeling is really good, but the body I'm using is about to be squeezed dry by me. I request for a new body. Done by Z? That's a terrible description. Naruto couldn't help but think of some embarrassing things. Naruto forcibly stopped his imagination and replied, how many more days can it last? Don't worry, if I'm not wrong, there will soon be 3 new bodies for you to choose from. At this time, Hinata asked, who's talking? It sounds a bit like Senior Kabuto in the past. And what's a new body? So Kabuto introduced himself. Hello, Miss Hinata, I'm Kabuto, but I'm Kabuto in the Edo Tensei state. Hinata asked what Edo Tensei was, but Naruto interrupted her. I'll tell you later. Then he said to Fatty, Fatty, this spiritual network still needs to be upgraded. Add a private chat function and a temporary group chat function. Hinata hurriedly apologized. Sorry. I shouldn't have asked so many questions. Naruto replied, it's fine. Edo Tensei is a forbidden technique that sacrifices the living to revive the dead. There's no harm in telling you. The private chat and group chat functions will be added sooner or later. After all, if there's a battle, the people chatting at home have to be separated from the people fighting. Sacrificing the living to revive the dead? Sakura Haruno was also shocked for a moment, but with Hinata as an example, she didn't ask anything. Then Naruto told Tsunade's love story in the spiritual network. In order to revive his dead lover, the news of using a forbidden technique to leave the wood leaf was also heard by a few people for the first time in an unofficial way. So a voice of yearning rose in the spiritual network. The original focus of using the living to sacrifice became a point that was ignored. Hinata couldn't help but ask, "Naruto-kun, if I die, will you also revive me?" Naruto replied, "Of course, even if you become neither human nor ghost, I will still love you deeply." Hinata's heart melted. "Naruto-kun," the others sighed. This unexpected display of affection made everyone feel a little suffocated. Guru asked in a coquettish tone, "Master, if I die, will you revive me?" Naruto chuckled, "I will, and then I'll let you continue to serve the future little master and little master, forever and ever as a slave." This was a joke. Guru played along, "Then please tell Guru what to do." Just as Naruto was chatting with the girls, Kakashi and Naruto finally arrived. The location was a bit surprising. It was the Umbu Department's building. As they walked into the Umbu Department's building, the surroundings were silent, and the atmosphere was a bit heavy. First floor underground, second floor underground, third floor underground, fourth floor underground, fifth floor underground. The more floors they went down, the quieter it became. Naruto teased, "Meeting here? Looks like this meeting isn't going to be normal." When they reached the fifth floor, several wooden stakes suddenly appeared from all directions. Naruto didn't dodge and was entangled tightly. However, just because Naruto didn't say anything, it didn't mean that Nine Tails didn't react. Nine Tails gritted his teeth and said, "Didn't I say I killed this guy last time?" Naruto replied, don't worry, it's the same if I kill him in a few days." The girls heard the anger in Nine Tails' voice and asked about the situation. Naruto replied, "Don't worry, I'll stay here for a week first." "Alright, Guru, the 3 Umbu ninjas that we met when we killed Danzo last time, you guys should study them and capture them." "Don't kill them, make sure they're alive." "Guru, little Guru," and the others replied, "Yes." Tap, 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 tap. The sound of wooden clogs on the stone floor came from afar, and Koharu and Shuei Human walked out from the corner. Koharu's voice was cold. "Naruto, did you kill Danzo?" Naruto grinned and said, "I killed him." For a moment, the sound of breathing around them became heavier, and there were also some sounds of ninja swords being drawn. Naruto looked straight at Koharu. In the perception barrier, Naruto was also looking at the Umbu ninjas hiding in the dark. There were hundreds of them. Wood Leaf's combat power reserve is really shocking. Naruto asked, "You actually caught me. It seems that Jiraiya is not in the village now, right? I'm a little surprised that you guys agreed." Koharu looked at Naruto indifferently. "I'm also a little surprised that you talk so much. I hope you can still be so happy when Nine Tails is drawn out." Koharu actually wants to change human pillar force? This is unexpected. Naruto smiled brightly. "Then it seems, you don't intend to pay me the 30 million Ryo you owe me." Chapter 270. Naruto Umbu, Underground 5th Floor. Naruto was tied up by Yamato's wood release and brought to an iron prison. The 6 sides of the room were made of steel, and the thickness of the door alone was half a meter. When the door opened, the sound of steel rubbing against each other gave people goosebumps. Naruto frowned and said with dissatisfaction, "Can't you use some lubricant?" But no one paid attention to his dissatisfaction. Then Naruto was chained to the iron bed with his arms and legs spread out. Yamato added another layer of lock on the outside to be on the safe side. Naruto used chakra. Chakra could be used. However, with Naruto's strength, it was impossible for him to break free from the shackles on his limbs. Nine Tails' chakra was restrained by wood release. In theory, this kind of lock was perfect. Naruto looked at Yamato. Yamato was wearing an Umbu mask, and his eyes were very serious. Then Naruto looked at Kakashi. Kakashi's body was trembling. At the same time, Kakashi didn't bring his white teeth today. This man must be very confused at this time, Naruto complained in his heart. After Naruto was chained, 2 ninjas from the ceiling squad came. They lifted Naruto's clothes and revealed his stomach. Chakra was injected, and the 8 trigram seal appeared. This is... One of the older ninjas stared at the seal on Naruto's abdomen. Apparently, he was shocked by Naruto's mutated seal. Naruto sneered, "Can you do it? Don't tell me you can't even see the seal?" The ninja didn't look at Naruto. Instead, he continued to study the seal on Naruto's abdomen. Koharu and Mitokado Hamura also stood aside. At this moment, little Guni sent a message, "Big brother Naruto, we've caught him. What's the next step?" In the spiritual network, Naruto replied in surprise, "So fast." Little Gini explained, "It's almost all Sister Xia's work. Sister Xia determined the enemy's location and knocked them out. The 3 of us just had to carry them back. Was it that simple? You're amazing, my sister. Take 2 of them back to the store manager's house and lock them up. As for the other one, Gunny, send him to Do and give him a body swap." Gu and I did not understand. "How? Are you going to use a sealing scroll to seal him?" Naruto said in disdain, "Spiritual control? How did you guys bring the wolf girl back?" Gu and I was enlightened. Oh. Next, Naruto contacted Medicine Master Pocket. "Pocket, are you here? Use the spirit communication technique to summon Gurney." Medicine Master Pocket immediately replied, "Here." The spirit communication technique was activated, and a circle of light appeared beside Gurney in the store manager's living room. At the same time, a voice message sounded, but this time it was not Naruto's voice, but Little Gini's. "The teleportation will begin in 3 seconds. Please make sure you're wearing your clothes. At the very least, you should wear a bra. Of course, it doesn't matter if it's blue, white, or lace. If you don't wear your bra and want to stop the teleportation, please do so within 3 seconds. Do not jump out of the circle of light. Otherwise, you might become Gurney. Lastly, please make sure you're standing in the circle of light. At the same time, please make sure the item you've chosen is in the circle of light." The voice message rang in Gurney's ears, and Gurney's face darkened. He glared at Little Gini. "When did you record this voice message? Is your butt itching again?" In the store manager's living room, Little Gini quickly hid behind Big Gini and said timidly, "Which version are you talking about?" "I've recorded a lot." Gurney's mouth twitched. Just as he was about to say something, the circle of light closed and expanded into a ball. Then, the highly condensed chakra turned into a cloud of white mist. With a bang, Gurney and the Umbu ninja disappeared. After that, Naruto remotely controlled Gurney to change Gurney's body. At the same time, Naruto took a look at Hinata's clone in the culture tank. After Gurney woke up, he said, "The current clone's spiritual world is very unstable, and it hasn't developed an independent soul." Naruto replied through telepathy, "That's even better. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to do it even if it's a clone. Start accelerating the catalysis. I'll start planning in a week." Gurney accepted the order. Yes. Naruto's consciousness retreated from the spiritual network. In the Umbu cell, 2 people from the sealing class had just finished researching the types of sealing techniques. "This is stacking 2 4-symbol seals together?" The other person was still deducing and exclaimed, "This idea is really ingenious. I wonder which genius came up with this idea." Koharu urged, "I asked you to come here to extract the 9 tails, not to research the seals." The 2 of them were startled. They stood up and bowed 90 degrees. Yes. But soon, the 2 of them started researching again. Naruto looked at Koharu and frowned again. He couldn't help but ask, "You're already so old. Are you tired of standing? Why don't you find a stool and sit down and watch?" Koharu glared at Naruto. Naruto continued asking, "By the way, who did you find to be my substitute?" Still, no one answered. Perhaps Koharu was too old to stand still. She urged the two ninjas, "How much longer do you want to watch?" The ninja of the sealing class was sweating profusely and respectfully replied, "This seal is very complicated, and it's encrypted. If we have the key, it's easy, but if we don't have the key, with our level, it's a bit difficult." Naruto mocked, "Don't flatter yourself. You won't succeed even if I give you a month. But I know where the key is. Beg me and I'll tell you." Koharu looked at Naruto and shouted, "Speak." Naruto looked at Koharu as if he was looking at an idiot. "I already said, beg me." Is this the attitude of a beggar? Koharu's expression turned cold. "Slap him." An Umbu ninja appeared and slapped Naruto's face. Slap. For a moment, the air was silent. Naruto was also stunned. This was the first time he was slapped in the face since he came to this world. Naruto comforted himself. "Don't get angry, don't get angry. What's the point of getting angry with a dead person? The plan is more important." However, Naruto couldn't help but stare at the Umbu ninja who suddenly appeared and Koharu. Koharu looked down at Naruto. "Continue." The Umbu ninja raised his hand again. "Still enduring? Damn." Naruto couldn't take it anymore. Just as the hand was about to fall, a Rasengan instantly gathered in front of his mouth. Yang attribute chakra wrapped around it and shot out. The ninja's reaction wasn't slow. After sensing chakra's aura, he instantly retreated a few steps. But it was still too late. The Rasengan shot out from Naruto's mouth hit the ninja's head. The head exploded. White and red juice mixed together and splattered all over Koharu's face. At the same time, the headless corpse was pressed against the wall by the Rasengan. Blood gushed out from the neck like a fountain. Naruto sneered. "You want to know where the key is? Then I'll tell you. It's in Jiraiya. If you have the guts, go and ask for it." Chapter 271. In the original plan, Naruto planned to start the plan after a week. But soon Naruto found that a week was too long. The most important thing was that he was hungry, and he didn't dare to eat the food that Koharu had prepared for him. What if she poisoned him? Poisoning at this time would be very dangerous. So on the fourth day, when Kabuto was trying his best to catalyze Hinata's clone to the age of 12, Naruto decided, the plan begins. Woodleaf Ninja Village, Umbu Department's underground 5th floor. The iron gate of the cell was closed. Inside the cell, the bed under Naruto's body was raised at a 45-degree angle, and more than a dozen ninjas of the sealing class were desperately trying to crack the 8-trigram seal on Naruto's body. Opposite Naruto, Yamato, wearing an Umbu mask, stared at Naruto without blinking his eyes. He was always on guard. Even if Naruto yawned, he would be 120% careful. Silence. Silence. Except for the sound of the pen constantly calculating on the paper, there was only the sound of breathing. At this time, Naruto, who was resting with his eyes closed, slowly opened his eyes. "Hey! Are you tired?" Naruto's sudden words made Yamato's nerves suddenly jump. Chakra on his body couldn't help but gather. Naruto sneered, Chakra have been sealed, do you need to be so afraid of me?" Yamato continued to stare at Naruto, but after more than 30 seconds, Naruto didn't do anything unusual, so Yamato gradually relaxed. At the same time, more than a dozen ninjas of the sealing class were relieved, but in fact, a storm was always brewing under the surface of false calm. Naruto said to Nine Tails through telepathy, "You only have 5 seconds, I will give you control of my body for 5 seconds, after that, you will cooperate with Guru to summon me away." In the sealed space of Kyubi, Kyubi suddenly opened her eyes. Her blood-red vertical pupils contained the violent emotions that had accumulated over the past few days. She opened her mouth and said, "Give me the body completely in 5 seconds?" Naruto replied, "Well, I will leave it completely to you, but remember, you only have 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, you must cooperate with Guru to summon me away. This is very important. Even if you are angry in your heart, no matter how unwilling you are, you can't delay it for even a second. Can you do it? If you can't do it, then I will do it. In the sealed space of Nine Tails and Naruto looked at each other, then the corner of his mouth cracked open, revealing his white teeth, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, the plan will proceed as usual." Naruto nodded, and at the same time said to Guru through telepathy, "Prepare to summon me in 2 seconds, this way I should appear at the store manager's house in 5 seconds. After the arrangements were made, Naruto took back control of his body. Begin. In an instant, after obtaining Naruto's permission, Nine Tails' chakra burst out from all the gaps in the cage like a dam bursting, squeezing onto Naruto's body, and Nine Tails took over Naruto's body. 0.01 seconds. In the cell, Nine Tails will descended, and the undisguised killing intent made everyone's heart go cold. Nine Tails' chakra burst out from Naruto's body, and 3 tails instantly appeared behind Naruto, and the 4th tail was also in the process of forming. The temporary chakra seal created by the sealing class didn't even last for a moment under the unscrupulous chakra of Nine Tails, and it was directly destroyed. At the same time, under Naruto's body, the cold and heavy iron bed that locked Naruto for 3 days and 3 nights directly exploded. 0.5 seconds. A foxtail swept across, and the 5 ninjas who were close to the sealing class directly turned into blood mist. At the same time, the 4th tail behind Naruto began to form. Just when Nine Tails' tail was about to hit Yamato, who was 10 meters in front of him. 1, 2, 3 wooden walls rose layer by layer. This speed wasn't something that could be achieved by suddenly condensing chakra, and it could be seen that Yamato had been preparing for this moment for the past few days. At the same time, there were several wooden walls protecting the 2 ninjas who hadn't been killed yet. 0.15 seconds. Nine Tails' chakra hit the wooden wall, and the chakra, which could break the thick iron lock in an instant, broke through a layer of wooden wall, but that was it. However, Nine Tails didn't show the slightest sign of discouragement in his grin. 3 fox tails wrapped around the iron block that was broken by him, and then held the iron block and smashed it on Yamato's wooden wall. The wooden wall that was originally unmoved by Nine Tails' chakra suddenly collapsed the moment it was hit by the iron block. Nine Tails grinned. "Son of a bitch. You want to trap your Grandpa Joe with the same trick?" 0.17 seconds. At this time, after Nine Tails' muscles condensed on the surface of Naruto's body, a layer of periosteum began to appear, and he looked like an undead creature that crawled out of the abyss. Nine Tails controlled Naruto's body to jump up, and pressed on the iron block that flew out, and then burst out with power. Boom! A layer of sound barrier spread out under Nine Tails' hands. The heavy iron block shot out like a cannonball. At this moment, the wooden wall was as fragile as an eggshell, and everything that was swept by the iron block disintegrated. Yamato's body was hit by the iron block. There was no exception, and he turned into a bloody mist in the blink of an eye. Roar! Kyuubi roared loudly, and the huge sound wave shook the entire Umbu department. Kyuubi's chakra raged, and from the surface of the ground, it looked like a pillar of fire soaring into the sky. It was dazzling, eye-catching, and filled with the ominous aura of death. However, this light suddenly disappeared 4 seconds later. The wood leaf was silent, and thick smoke rolling. As the smoke and dust scattered, only a huge pit that was more than 10 meters deep and hundreds of meters in diameter was left at the original location of the dark section. 5 seconds later, Naruto's body appeared in the store manager's house. Naruto praised, "Not bad, right? You kept your promise. I thought you would continue to burst out until the 9th tail burst out, and then destroy the wood leaf. From then on, a fox will walk 10 steps and kill a person without leaving a trace." Nine Tails' chakra returned to the cage, and said proudly, "I'm a good fox who keeps her promises." Naruto expressed his disbelief. "Tisk, are you sure it's not because you haven't found your other half yet?" Nine Tails did not hesitate and admitted, "Of course, it's a little related." In the store manager's living room, Gunny and the other 2 were ready to go. Naruto shouted through the mental link, "Sakura, Hinata, how are the preparations? I'm about to summon you." Sakura Haruno was standing in the courtyard of her house, staring in fear at the place where the fire had soared into the sky. Her whole body was trembling, and she was already wrapped in fear. She hesitated, not knowing how to respond to Naruto. Hinata's reply was faster. I'm ready. You can summon me now. Naruto replied, Okay, little Gunny, summon Hinata. At the same time, Naruto said to Sakura Haruno, I'll give you 5 seconds to decide if you want to go or stay. You can stay too. Sakura Haruno finally came back to her senses, and clenched her fists. I want to stay, will I? She did not finish her sentence. At the same time, Naruto did not rush to answer, and everything was silent. For seconds, Sakura Haruno finally made a decision. I'm ready. Summon me. Naruto smiled. Big Gunny, summon Sakura-chan. At the same time, he said to Sakura Haruno, I'm not a bad person. If you stay, I won't do anything to you. Nine-Tails sneered. Bad people never say that they're bad people. Naruto praised. Nine Llamas Sensei is very philosophical today. Sakura Haruno was summoned to the store manager's house. Then, next, was the main show. Nine-Tails sealed the space. Nine-Tails rested his chin on his hand and stared at Yamato's soul outside the cage. No one knew what he was thinking. This thing was sucked into Naruto's body after he killed Yamato. Chapter 272. Sakura Haruno and Hinata were summoned to the store manager's house. All you need to do is take a nap. When you wake up, you'll find that we've already left Woodleaf. Naruto unscrewed the cap of a test tube, and the liquid inside evaporated. Sakura Haruno immediately covered her mouth and nose. However, Hinata was more experienced. She knew that the liquid would have an effect as long as it was removed from the skin, so she generously rolled her eyes at Naruto. Then, she stood on her tiptoes and moved her face closer to Naruto. However, the height difference between her and Naruto was indeed a problem. Even if she stood on her tiptoes, there was still a difference of 10 centimeters. Hinata felt that her body was a little heavy, and she knew that she was about to faint. So, she jumped up and kissed Naruto's face. Through the mental link, Hinata boldly expressed her feelings. Naruto-kun must be safe. Shy. Hinata blushed and fainted. Naruto, on the other hand, was attracted by Hinata's kiss. Little Gunny's eyes lit up, and she suddenly jumped in front of Naruto. However, just as she jumped, Gunny's hand suddenly grabbed her short leg and pulled her back into his arms. You're still young, this kind of thing is still far away from you. Little Gunny struggled and angrily grabbed Gunny's stomach and gave Gunny's head a hammer. At this time, Sakura Haruno's eyes rolled back and she also fell down. Naruto called out, Stop fooling around. Come and take off Sakura Haruno and Hinata's clothes and change into new ones. At the same time, give the clones their old clothes. 3 corpse coffins were placed in 2 inconspicuous corners of the store manager's living room. When the corpse coffins were opened, 3 people were sleeping soundly inside. Clones of Naruto, Hinata, and Sakura Haruno. Naruto walked forward and picked up his clone. He was about to change his clothes. Since it was an act, he couldn't reveal any flaws. At this moment, little Gunny asked, Does Fat C want to change too? Naruto's face hardened. Change. Change all the jewelry on their bodies. At the same time, do a full body check on them. Don't leave anything on them that could be used as a tracking device. Naruto took his clone back to the bedroom. In a very hidden place on Naruto's clothes, there was a very small and very hidden curse seal. The corner of Naruto's mouth twitched, and there was a trace of mockery on his face. After changing into the clone body's clothes, Naruto checked his own body to make sure there was nothing wrong with it before changing into the new clothes. The next task was to seal the other half of Nine-Tails into the body of the clone. Nine Llamas Sensei, I'll leave it to you to convince the other you. Nine-Tails sat cross-legged and said, I don't have much confidence in this matter. After all, to let it die once. I don't think I would agree to it either. Naruto thought for a moment. This is indeed a problem. Then it's not good to tell it that it will die after the task is completed. QB nodded and pondered. That's more reliable. Let's just let it cause a ruckus and then it'll be free. Or, I don't think we should tell it about the plan. Just leave it in that old guy's house. I believe that the other old guy won't be soft-hearted when he sees such an ugly old guy. Naruto frowned. That's not good. There's no guarantee that the two old men will die. And what if they accidentally hurt others? Nine Tails suggested. Don't we still have to deal with them secretly? That works too, Naruto praised. Nine Llama Sensei, you're surprisingly thoughtful today. Is it because you don't want to communicate with the other you? Nine Tails rolled his eyes at Naruto. If I can avoid contact, I'll avoid it. If that guy knows that I'm the one who tricked it, even if it's itself, it won't let me go. I don't want to fight with myself. That would be too stupid. Naruto began to set up the altar. He did not know how to use the 8-trigram seal, so he was going to use the 4-symbol seal. This might leave some clues, but people who did not know the truth would not think that he was still alive after seeing his body. In the sealed space of Nine Tails' eyes were fixed on Yamato's spiritual body. Finally, he could not help but ask, Naruto, what are you going to do with this guy? Naruto laughed. Nine Llama Sensei, are you afraid that I'll fuse Mokuton? Nine Tails was silent. Naruto continued to laugh. Nine Llama Sensei has the final say. If you don't want me to fuse Yamato, then I won't contact him and wait for him to disappear. Nine Tails said suspiciously, You want me to decide? Really? Naruto laughed and said, I said, I'm a good person. How can I trick my own people? Nine Tails was even more suspicious of this sentence. He said, Then I won't let you fuse. Naruto nodded and said, Well, then I won't come into contact with his soul. It will probably dissipate after a long time. After Naruto finished speaking, he continued to be busy and dragged out an Umbu ninja who was tied up before. At this time, the Umbu ninja had woken up and the mask on his face had been removed. It was a common face. The person stared at Naruto in horror and said, It's you. Naruto was too lazy to answer such an idiotic question. He threw it aside and began to reconfirm the Edo Tensei curse seal. The Umbu ninja was silent. Then Naruto took out the Shinigami mask. He said to Nine Tails, To be honest, I'm still a little scared to wear this thing. Nine Tails replied, I'm also a little scared. I don't know what this damn thing is. In the end, Naruto made up his mind and said, Then let's change it to someone else. Nine Tails seconded the idea. So the mask was put on the Umbu ninja's face. Spirit transformation technique. Success. After Naruto's soul successfully slimmed down last time, Naruto could finally squeeze his soul out of his body. This feeling was like the unspeakable joy of a fat man who couldn't even get out of the door after successfully losing weight. However, unlike other people's spirit bodies, Naruto's spirit body was golden. It was golden and beautiful, but it was a little small. It was only the size of a normal person's fist. He rushed into the Umbu ninja's spiritual world. The Umbu ninja couldn't see Naruto's spirit body, but he could feel that he was under a spiritual attack. However, he endured it and didn't say anything. When Naruto entered the Umbu ninja's spiritual world, the Umbu ninja looked at the golden cartoon version of Naruto from a perspective that he had never seen before. For some reason, he thought of little golden pill. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Then he said, It seems that you already know that I told Koharu-sama about you, but I don't know how you were sure that it was me and not the other two people? After the 3 Umbu ninjas were caught, one of them was used on the same day, and the other 2 were detained separately, so they didn't know that the others were also caught. Naruto smiled and said, I'm not a good person. I don't need to know who told the secret. As long as there are suspects, they will naturally be arrested, and they will all end up the same. The Umbu ninja was shocked for a moment, but soon returned to normal and asked, Are they all dead? If they are not dead, let them go. I have already confessed that it was me. It is too cruel for them to die because of me. After all, those two people respect you very much. Naruto sneered, "You are worthy of being an Umbu ninja. You look very responsible, but don't you know that the emotional fluctuations shown by the soul when lying are more obvious than the body? TSK, you want to trick me when you are about to die. Should I say that you are too smart, or too stupid? I hope you don't have any family members alive. If you do, I will let them accompany you in the afterlife." The Umbu ninja's eyes widened and he shouted, "I'm going to kill you." Then he rushed over. However, compared with Naruto, his soul was too weak. Naruto killed him as easily as a knife piercing the window paper. The man's eyes widened, and he begged as his soul collapsed, "They are innocent." Naruto looked indifferently at the gradually dissipating soul. If killing is a sin, then everyone who is alive is guilty and sinful. "But I don't have the time to find your family members." "Go well, there are very few people in this world who are as tolerant of traitors as me." Then he touched his chin narcissistically and said, "Alas, I am really a good person." The Umbu ninja's soul dissipated, and his face showed a look of relief. He sincerely said, "Thank you." Chapter 273. If killing is a sin, then everyone who is alive is guilty, and sinful. Nine Tails chewed on this sentence, and for a moment, he felt that what he said seemed to be more arrogant than what he said before. Just like what Naruto said, if a person lied, the signs of their soul leaking would be more obvious, and it would be impossible to disguise. Naruto asked him to decide whether to devour Yamato's soul or not. He rejected it, and Naruto agreed, and he found that Naruto wasn't lying. This made Nine Tails' view of Naruto change a lot, and he praised in his heart, "This kid is not bad, seems like he really thinks of me as his teacher." For a moment, Nine Tails felt a little happy in his heart. After the six paths left, he saw that most of the humans in this world were only hypocritical and blinded by greed. He rarely appreciated a person so much. But was that really the case? Naruto said in his heart, "If I don't devour Yamato, then I won't devour Yamato, isn't there still Shodai?" He said that if I don't devour Yamato, then I won't fuse with wood. A simple word game indeed bypassed the key to lying. Naruto gave himself 100 points for wisdom. However, Naruto didn't feel ashamed of his actions. What was that saying? Don't have the heart to harm others, but don't let your guard down. He did this just to guard against others. Naruto swore that when he fused with wood, he would treat Nine Tails well. He would never rely on wood to bully Nine Tails. After all, he was a good person. After taking control of the Umbu's body, Naruto put on the Shinigami's mask. To be honest, he was still a little scared. So cold. The word cold didn't mean much to Naruto after he fused with ice. But the moment he put on the Shinigami's mask, it suddenly appeared in his mind. It was a bone-chilling coldness. Nine Tails also shivered. "Naruto, behind you." Naruto couldn't help but swallow and turned his head stiffly. The moment he saw the Grim Reaper's face, the chill in his heart intensified. Two long horns grew on both sides of the forehead in the hair that stood up like Jiraiya's hair. There was also the purple skin, the thin and narrow cone-shaped face, and the lack of eyebrows above the eyes. This reminded Naruto of my love, who also had no eyebrows. He couldn't help but ridicule. "Do you have to shave your eyebrows to act cool these days?" However, this did not alleviate the coldness Naruto felt. The Grim Reaper had a short knife in its mouth, which made Naruto very uncomfortable. Fortunately, that thing was floating quietly behind him. Naruto tried to control the Grim Reaper to pick up the knife in its mouth. However, he didn't succeed. Naruto thought about it and found a real sword. He held his hands flat on both sides of his body. At this moment, he felt an inexplicable resonance between him and the Grim Reaper. Naruto used this resonance to aim the knife at the stomach of the person he was controlling. The Grim Reaper also held the short knife in its mouth in its hand. Then, cut the stomach. As the Grim Reaper's stomach was cut open, the 5 soul fires floated out of the Grim Reaper's stomach. "It's done." Naruto immediately took off the mask on his face. He didn't want to wear this damn thing anymore. Among the 5 soul fires, a human face could be vaguely seen in 4 of them. It was swaying and twisting, and its eyes were closed. Naruto recognized the 1st to 4th generation Naruto by the human figures above, and the shadow of a pair of arms. Are these Orochimaru's hands? Good things can be exchanged for a lot of money in the future. 9 Llamas. Sensei. Did you hear any sound? Nine Tails replied, it should be coming from those soul fires. Naruto still hasn't recovered from the shadow of the Grim Reaper and shivered. He unfolded the 4 scrolls and then sealed them one by one with the 4-symbol seal. These scrolls are all special scrolls. Although the effect is not as good as using people as the foundation, it is enough to seal for a short period of time. So soon, only the 4th generation Naruto's soul was left, and the others were all sealed. Naruto's soul returned to his body and treated the Umbu's abdomen with the Palm Immortal technique. Then the scroll engraved with the Edo Tensei curse seal was unfolded. Edo Tensei. The 4th generation Naruto's soul merged into the Umbu's body, and a piece of ashes floated out of nothingness and gathered on the Umbu's body. Soon, this person's appearance changed greatly, and he became the 4th generation Naruto's appearance. This person is my father in this life. Naruto's heart ached. A desire to hug the other person emerged from the bottom of his heart. Naruto resisted this impulse, raised his hand, took out a talisman, and put it into the 4th generation Naruto's body. It was a talisman to forcibly control, and also a talisman to deprive one of one's true thoughts and emotions. Naruto didn't want to communicate with the 4th generation Naruto, or rather, he didn't know how to communicate. After doing this, Naruto took a few deep breaths. Under the mental connection, Nine Tails could feel the changes in Naruto's heart. He complained, "Why do you yearn for daddy's embrace? Don't be shy, go hug for a while." Naruto rolled his eyes. Nine Tails continued, "Don't have any shame, there's nothing wrong with children wanting their parents' embrace." With that said, Nine Tails took the initiative to cut off the mental connection. Before cutting off, he said, "I'll give you 1 minute." Nine Tails, this guy. Naruto didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Looking at the 4th generation Naruto again, the emotions in his heart grew stronger. Alright, I've used your body for so long, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. We've long been inseparable. I'll help you fulfill your small wish. With that said, Naruto hugged the 4th generation Naruto. So relieved. It was a feeling that he hadn't felt for a long time. It was different from hugging Hinata, who felt like he was hugging an entire world. The moment he hugged the 4th generation Naruto, he felt like the world was hugging him. 1 minute. Naruto let go. However, the mental connection didn't connect immediately. Nine Tails. This guy definitely wasn't trying to avoid suspicion, but he didn't want to see the Ein-type Nine Tails take the opportunity to escape. However, Naruto didn't plan to continue hugging. He began to transfer the other half of Nine Tails sealed in the 4th generation Naruto's soul. Naruto's chakra entered the 4th generation Naruto's Edo Tensei state without any hindrance. Naruto even felt that the sealing technique seemed to have a mind of its own and was actively cooperating with him. It was as if there was a voice telling him what to do, as if there was a person standing beside him looking at him with gratification. Naruto entered the Ein-type Nine Tails sealed space. This space was very similar to the one inside Naruto's body. He saw the Nine Tails in the cage, and the Nine Tails in the cage also saw him. Naruto looked beside him. The 4th generation Naruto was also in front of the cage. A talisman was stuck on the 4th generation Naruto's forehead. It was a talisman that forcefully controlled the Edo Tensei. "Brat. Who are you? I can sense a familiar aura from you." Unlike the 9 llamas who had already been tamed, this one's gaze was extremely fierce. The aura on his body was terrifying, and the white teeth that were exposed when he opened his mouth were like swords. It didn't make people feel that he was cute. Naruto suddenly remembered that when he first met the Ein-type Nine Tails, that guy also seemed to be like this. For a moment, Naruto felt a sense of familiarity in his heart. He grinned at Nine Tails and smiled. We'll talk about who I am in the future. I believe we'll meet again. Today, I'm here to change your home. The Ean-type Nine Tails glared and roared, Brat! How dare you not answer my question? You're courting death. Naruto suddenly had an idea and said, If you're honest, I'll give you a dessert. The Ean-type Nine Tails was stunned for a moment. Just when Naruto thought that it had worked, Nine Tails' head squeezed and wanted to rush out of the cage to bite him. At the same time, he roared, Brat! Are you messing with me? Damn it! I'm going to kill you! Naruto shrunk his neck and said in fear, So fierce, not cute at all. My Nine Tails is the best. At the same time, the Ean-type Nine Tails was also looking at the scene in front of him. The spiritual link was only cut off, so he could still see the situation outside. He couldn't help but say, Is this how I used to be? Why do I look like a retard? Chapter 274. The Ean-type Nine Tails moved smoothly. Nine Tails, who also had a soulless body, merged very quickly. Brat! I'm going to kill you! Nine Tails roared. Naruto smiled and waved his hand. Bye-bye, we'll meet again. Naruto exited the soul world of the clone. The clone's body moved, and Nine Tails finally spoke. What are you still doing here? Quickly throw him out. The soul world of your clone is too weak. That guy will soon take control of this body. Naruto asked through the mental link, How long? Nine Tails urged, Not more than 10 seconds. F***ck. So fast. It was indeed an emergency, otherwise Nine Tails would not have spoken. After all, as long as he maintained a mental link with Naruto, the chances of being discovered by the other half would increase. What should I do? 10 seconds was not enough for Naruto to throw the clone out. This was the suburbs, and Wood Leaf was far away. Moreover, he could not just grab it and rush over. Was he going to let it cause trouble in the store manager's house? That was absolutely not allowed. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Many muscles on the clone's body began to twitch, and it looked like it could wake up at any time. Right. The corpse coffin. Naruto grabbed the clone, and the wind elemental blink technique was activated to the maximum. Naruto instantly arrived at the hole. The 4th second. Naruto threw the clone into the corpse coffin and closed the lid. He slid the timer wheel and switched on the sleep mode. Naruto's clone struggled and hit the coffin's lid, shaking violently a few times. Naruto pressed the lid of the coffin tightly, and it was quiet after 3 seconds. Naruto took a deep breath and sighed. Why do I feel like I'm dealing with a bomb? Nine Tails rolled his eyes at Naruto. How dare you compare me to a bomb? Poverty has limited your imagination. After saying that, Nine Tails smacked his lips and sighed. Not bad, not bad. That's a very charming sentence. Huh. Naruto did not know what was wrong with Nine Tails. Naruto heaved a sigh of relief when the coffin lid stopped jumping. At this moment, she looked up and saw 2 naked bodies lying on the sofa being played with by the girls. Naruto stared blankly at the 2 bodies. The girls were also staring at Naruto in a daze. For a moment, the atmosphere in the hall was terrifyingly quiet, and the situation was incomparably awkward. It was as if an idiot had suddenly rushed into the changing room of a female bathhouse. Guenai was the first to come back to his senses. He pursed his lips and smiled. Is it nice? My body is even better looking than theirs. Master. Naruto quivered and instantly came back to his senses. He quickly raised his hand to cover his eyes and said, I didn't see anything. Then, he sneaked a glance at Hinata through the gaps between his fingers. Although Hinata's height growth was not obvious, but there, what did that poem say? The little lotus has just revealed her sharp horns, and her head has already stood on top? What the ***king head? Who doesn't have a head? Naruto gave his own modified poem 100 points. In comparison, Sakura Haruno's body was too flat. How could he look at Heir Juzi's future wife? That was his future sister-in-law. But to be honest, my Hinata is still the best. Proud, Gunny rolled his eyes at Naruto's honest fingers and said, "If you want to look, then go ahead. They're all asleep anyway. Don't worry, we won't tell anyone." Tempted. Just as Naruto was about to look openly, Gunny smirked. "But when they wake up, I'll tell them the truth. After all, they're my good sisters." Insidious. Naruto immediately turned around and urged, "Hurry up. The corpse coffin can put the body into a dormant state, but Nine-Tails' willpower can't be underestimated. She might be able to break through the body's restrictions and rush out." Gunny frowned and asked, "Didn't you use the four-symbol seal?" Listening to the sound of clothes being put on behind him, Naruto's imagination went live again. "At the same time," he replied, "I did, but I didn't expect the four-symbol seal to have such a high requirement on the owner's willpower. It can be said that the four-symbol seal is a seal built on the owner's willpower. The clone almost doesn't have a will, and the soul world is just a facade. So, the possibility of Nine-Tails breaking the seal is very high." Hearing this, the women's movements finally quickened. They no longer argued about which clothes to wear for the two girls. Instead, they randomly picked one and put it on first. Obviously, they also realized the seriousness of the matter. 5 seconds later, both the clone and the main body's clothes were changed. In order to save time, the main body only wore a dress after changing out of her clothes. Then, the women put the two girls into the corpse coffin and adjusted the time to close the coffin lid. Naruto went back to his room and put the 4th generation Naruto's Edo Tensei into the corpse coffin. The corpse coffin is a good thing. Naruto prepared a lot of them. He even gave one to each of Chun and Xia, so there was no shortage of them. 10 minutes later, Naruto changed into an Umbu ninja's outfit and sneaked back to the wood leaf. In the wood leaf, a lot of ninjas gathered because of the sudden explosion and disappearance of the Umbu. Naruto quietly approached. Just as he was about to find a corner to summon the corpse coffin and release the clone, Nine-Tails suddenly said, "Naruto, fuse with Yamato's soul first." Huh? Nine-Tails actually wants him to fuse with Yamato's soul? Let him fuse with Mokuton. Since Yamato's soul was sucked into the sealed space of Nine-Tails, Nine-Tails has been a little more wary of Naruto. Naruto can feel this. But at this time, he actually wants him to fuse with Yamato? Nine Llamas, Sensei, are you serious? Naruto's consciousness sneaked into Nine-Tails' sealed space. Nine-Tails looked at Naruto and asked, "Are you excited?" I'm really excited." Where lying is ineffective, Naruto nodded obediently. "There are still 2 on the pentagram that haven't lit up. If I can only fuse with 2, I think Mokuton is a Kekkei Genkai that can't be missed." Then he said, "Think about it, if there is Mokuton, I can try to communicate with trees, maybe I can speed up the growth of plants. Then I don't have to buy any herbs in the future, I can just catalyze them myself. There is also an orchard, a vegetable garden, I can eat it whenever I want. How wonderful is that?" Speaking of wonderful, Naruto even acted cute. Nine-Tails rolled his eyes and said, "If I fuse with Mokuton, the nature of Mokuton can hide my aura, so the other me can't sense me." "Oh. Then I have to thank the other you. What a good fox. She's awesome." If that's the case. So Nine-Tails was tricked by me? But I've already fused with it? Naruto raised his hand and touched Yamato. Nine-Tails turned his head and urged, "If you want to fuse with it, hurry up, I might regret it later." Slap. Naruto's hand pressed down when he heard the word, regret. Nine-Tails. Yamato's soul power fused into Naruto's body. The pentagram that had disappeared from Naruto's forehead appeared again. Naruto's heart skipped a beat. He wouldn't lay another egg, right? What F** king egg? Go F** king egg. At this time, the pentagram engraved on the giant egg also lit up, and several golden threads appeared on the 4th corner of the egg and wrapped around it. Following that was the extraction of soul power. Naruto originally thought that after turning into a golden soul, the extraction would be smaller, but he didn't expect 2/3 of his soul power would be extracted. This caused Naruto, who was originally the size of a fist, to shrink to the size of a ping-pong ball. Fortunately, the giant egg spat out several golden threads and fused with Naruto's body, blowing Naruto up again. He blew until he was the size of a volleyball. What a surprise! The fusion of the new attributes didn't consume any energy, but increased instead. Was this the so-called, after suffering comes happiness? Naruto's consciousness withdrew from Nine Tails' sealed space and tried to change the nature of the wood attribute chakra. It didn't succeed. It seemed like it was the same as the ice magnetic release, which required the body to slowly adapt to the new attributes. So far, Naruto found that of the 4 attributes fused, only Nine Tails' young attribute could be used directly without practice. Naruto felt that it was related to the chakra that he borrowed Nine Tails' chakra in the Wave Country mission, or it was related to him being the human pillar force of Nine Tails. Putting this aside for the time being, it was time for the plan to start. Tsunade isn't here, Jiraiya isn't here, Woodleaf. I don't know if you're ready to bear the wrath of Nine Tails. There's also Koharu and Mitokado Homura. Wash your necks clean, my money isn't that easy to cheat. Chapter 275. Woodleaf Ninja Village. The entire Umbu department turned into a sinkhole. Rolling smoke covered 10 miles, ashes drifted, and a thick burnt smell filled the nostrils. It turns out that although Nine Tails chakra doesn't have a fire attribute, under the rapid expansion and eruption, chakra, which contains a huge amount of energy, can easily ignite objects by friction. Who can tell me what's going on? Flames loomed in the sinkhole, and Koharu, who was a kilometer away from the sinkhole, looked at the black smoke in front of her from a distance, and her face was extremely bad. Several Umbu ninjas around her reported, "The cause is under investigation, and the results will be out soon." Several water release ninjas arrived, and under their joint efforts, a huge wave rolled straight into the sinkhole. For a while, the water in the sinkhole was steaming, but in fact, the fire didn't improve much. Although the water transformed by chakra can also extinguish fire, its structure is extremely unstable. The originally unstable water, when encountering a strong energy fluctuation and high heat object, disintegrating into chakra is a matter of course. Fortunately, the earth release can still work. More than a dozen earth release ninjas joined forces, and the earth waves flowed, forming an isolation belt with a width of 100 meters, so that at least the fire won't spread around. Kakashi arrived and appeared near the sinkhole, carefully perceiving the fluctuations of chakra in the sinkhole, and his expression was very dignified. In fact, he didn't need to investigate to guess what happened, because he knew who was in the Umbu department, and he also experienced the unforgettable night when Nine Tails attacked Woodleaf. This chakra full of destruction and ominous aura is Nine Tails. Then Naruto. Kakashi found Koharu. Koharu-sama, is Naruto okay now? Koharu suppressed her anger and whispered, "The current situation is unknown, you go and check it." Kakashi, yes. Kakashi turned around and threw himself into the team searching for Naruto's whereabouts. However, other than the light of the fire, there was only thick smoke in the smoke. Activating Sharingan, chakra left behind by Nine Tails is still there, and in Sharingan's field of vision is Nine Tails' irritable chakra. This method was obviously useless. The search lasted for half an hour. There was still no news of Naruto. At this time, Hinata ran over with a crying voice. Hinata was followed by the patriarch of the Hyuga main family. "Sensei Kakashi. Naruto he." Kakashi turned his head to look at Hinata. At this time, he was in a bad mood. That day, Koharu found him and said that she wanted to extract the Nine Tails from Naruto's body, but he did not agree. However, Koharu promised him that she would only take a part of it and would not take Naruto's life. He said that everything was for the safety of the village. As a ninja, he had no right to refuse the orders of his superiors, so Kakashi opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but the words were stuck in his throat. No matter what he said, he couldn't say anything. after being unable to protect his companions and letting his companions die in front of him. Is it his student's turn this time? He had already said that he would never let the important people die in front of him. He had already vowed to protect all the people around him. Kakashi's hand held the big white tooth tightly, but the texture of the scabbard in his hand made his heart feel even more uncomfortable. This was the sword that Naruto made for him. Although it destroyed his father's relics, it was still a very precious gift. Hinata cried like rain and pear blossoms, looking at the silent Kakashi. The tears on her face had already burst. She cried and shouted, "Naruto-kun said that he would come back. He said that Koharu-sama just wanted to ask him something. Where is Koharu-sama? I want to see Koharu-sama." The smoke blocked the line of sight, but in fact, Koharu was not far away. The moment she heard Hinata's crying, her heart suddenly thumped. She walked over with Umbu Ninja and was about to scold her, but she saw that the head of the Hyuga main family was also there. What's going on? This girl brought her father here? In addition, didn't the head of the Hyuga main family look down on this daughter very much? He didn't intend to let her inherit the position of the head of the family, so why did he come here today? Or, the head of the Hyuga main family just came to check the situation, and she thought too much? Just when Koharu was thinking about how to seal Hinata's mouth, another girl ran over. "Koharu-sama! What did Naruto do wrong? Why haven't I seen him for a few days?" Koharu stared at Sakura Haruno, another person who dared to question her face to face. This person, Koharu remembered that she was the second disciple accepted by Tsunade. However, Tsunade has now betrayed the village, and the identity of Tsunade's disciple is useless. She opened her mouth and scolded, "This is not a place where a genin like you should come. Similarly, a genin like you is not qualified to question the arrangements of your superiors. Leave by yourself, and this time I will let bygones be bygones." However, what Koharu didn't expect was that Sakura Haruno suddenly shouted, "Did you really take away the 9 tails in Naruto's body? Human pillar force will die if the 9 tails is taken away. Koharu-sama, what did Naruto do wrong? Oh no. How does this girl know so many things? Who told her?" Koharu's heart was in a mess, and she waved her hand and said, "Catch this girl who is talking nonsense." The Umbu ninja took action, and Hinata rushed to protect Sakura Haruno. When Hinata moved, Hyuga Hayashi behind her side in his heart, stepped in front of the Umbu ninja, and said, "Wait. Koharu-sensei, there are some things that are better explained." The commotion here was not small, and ninjas gathered in 2s and 3s. Of course, they were all within 100 meters or even 500 or 600 meters. This distance was extremely easy for ninjas to find out some information. Of course, there were also people who rushed in without thinking about their own safety. Metkei was always missing a thread. When Metkei saw Kakashi, he was like a cat that smelled blood. He came over and greeted, "Yo. Kakashi, you are here." Kakashi didn't look at Metkei, but said to Koharu, "Please forgive me, what about Naruto makes you feel threatened by Woodleaf? I also want to know about this." Koharu's heart became more and more uneasy. She didn't look at Kakashi, but looked directly at Hyuga Hayashi, and said, "Hyuga clan is also interested in 9 tails?" 9 tails was a very sensitive word. If it was normal, he wouldn't have to get involved in this muddy water. But, when he thought of the scene where his daughter threatened to kill herself, he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart as a father. But fortunately, Hinata promised him that as long as he protected Naruto this time, his baby daughter would not have any contact with that guy who was already a muddy water. This was also what he hoped for. After all, even if Hinata was not the next patriarch, she was still a member of the Hyuga clan. The Hyuga clan's Kekkei Genkai must not be allowed to flow to other clans. This is the bottom line for the Hyuga clan to be able to survive until now. Hyuga Hayashi smiled bitterly and said, "Forgive me for my poor upbringing, it's all because of the child. My family's Hinata. Well, I'm also very curious about today's momentum. If I'm not wrong, only 9 tails chakra has such violent energy, so... Koharu-sensei, please explain, that kid, is he okay now?" Koharu's brows wrinkled. "It's because of this girl. Koharu squinted her eyes and looked at Hinata. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but in Hinata's tears, she saw a trace of slyness. Although it was only for a moment, but she was sure that she didn't see it wrong. Just when Koharu looked at Hinata. In the spiritual network, Naruto praised, "Gunny, if you were to film a movie, you would definitely be the best actress." Because the one controlling Hinata's clone was Gunny, Gunny replied proudly, "Acting is a girl's instinct. After all, the world is so dangerous, a girl has to protect herself." Naruto curled his lips. He thought to himself, Mommy Wuji was right, the more beautiful a girl is, the more deceitful she is. Sakura Haruno's clone inadvertently looked around. There were already many ninjas around who heard the news, and there were people from various clans. Then Naruto said, "The time is ripe, let's start the second plan." The first stage of the plan was to shift the blame. The second stage of the plan was a failure. Chapter 276. In the depths of an alley covered with a thick layer of ashes, a pitch-black rat quietly poked half of its head out of the rat hole, then shrank back in at an even faster speed. After 2 or 3 seconds, it poked its head out again and shrank back again. After confirming that there was no danger, the rat poked its head out for the 3rd time. It quietly looked around, its whiskers shaking along with its small nose. Then, it sneakily followed its sense of smell, looking for the trace of sweetness hidden in the burnt smell. It found it. It was cream stuck on a wooden box. The rat walked around the edge of the coffin. After confirming that there was no abnormality, it began to lick it to its heart's content. On the top of the wooden box, the number wheel slowly turned from 1 to a 0. Clack! The wooden box, or more accurately, the coffin, suddenly shook, as if something inside was hitting the coffin lid. The rat, who was eating the cream, was frightened. It ran back into the rat hole at a speed 10 times faster than when it came out. Nothing came after it. 5 seconds slowly passed. The rat hid at the edge of the rat hole and wanted to poke its head out to see what was going on, but then its body froze. In an instant, all the hair on its body stood up. Its muscles froze, and it couldn't run even if it wanted to. The fear that emerged from the bottom of its heart made it stiffen there. Outside the rat hole, the coffin was quiet for a moment. Then, it shook again and again. The thing inside hit the coffin lid, and after a few explosions, the coffin exploded into pieces. Chakra, which was filled with an ominous aura, erupted out. The person who broke free from the coffin lay on the ground like an animal. A pair of scarlet eyes stared around, the corners of its mouth cracked open, and its face twisted into the shape of a fox. At the same time, 3 fiery red fox tails spread out from its back. No, there were more than 3. Surging chakra gushed out of the monster's body, and the monster's body began to swell. At first, it was bare muscles. Then, it grew a skeleton and 4 tails. The monster's body expanded more than 10 times, but it showed no signs of stopping. It continued to grow taller, and a 5th tail appeared. The surging chakra swept through the surroundings like a strong gale. When the strong wind blew through the rat hole, the stiff rat fell straight down. Its eyes were lifeless, and it was unknown when it had been scared to death. Roar! The monster raised its head and roared. Energy surged, and the surrounding houses collapsed. At the same time, the woodleaf ninjas were alerted and rushed over. It's 9 tails. I remember this sound. It's 9 tails. 9 tails? Wasn't it sealed by 4th Naruto? Some people had guessed the truth, while others were still doubting it. However, these doubts did not persist for long. Amidst the smoke, 9 Tails' body expanded again until it was taller than a house. At the same time, everyone could see its body. The unforgettable crimson color of death evoked many people's memories. Fear spread among the wood-leaf ninjas. Ordinary people cried in their homes, and ninjas couldn't help but tremble. In the thick smoke, 9 Tails' tail swayed. 6 tails. Koharu shouted, "Quick! Seal it before it really wakes up." This shout awakened the ninjas who were shocked by Nine Tails. At the same time, Nine Tails also looked over. However, Nine Tails wasn't looking at Koharu. It was looking at the place behind Koharu that was emitting thick smoke. There, it felt the breath of chakra, which originally belonged to its other half. Roar! Chakra on Nine Tails' body erupted again. Its body continued to expand, and the seventh tail grew out. Then, he dashed toward the place where the thick smoke was rising. Koharu-sama! Please retreat to a safe place. Nine Tails suddenly rushed over, startling Koharu. Does Naruto want to take revenge on me? Panicking, Koharu ordered Kakashi, quick! Find a way to reseal Nine Tails. Kakashi's eyes were solemn as he shouted, What about Sky Burial? Isn't his wood release able to restrain Nine Tails? Sky Burial, also known as Yamato. But Koharu didn't answer him. Instead, she ran away with the Umbu ninja. Kakashi was helpless and turned to look at Hinata. He wanted to let Hinata protect him, but when he saw Hyuga Hayashi next to Hinata, he swallowed the words in his mouth. With Hyuga Hayashi, he naturally didn't need to worry about Hinata's safety. Kakashi clenched his white teeth and rushed toward Nine Tails. Koharu ran very fast. With the help of two Umbu ninjas, she quickly arrived at the nearest shelter. Coincidentally, Hamura Mitsuharu had already arrived and was pouring tea. Koharu felt a little relieved when she saw Hamura Mitsuharu. She calmed down and sat across the tea table. As for the Umbu ninjas, they were guarding the surroundings. There were 5 of them. I really don't know how that little beast got out. Koharu complained. At the same time, she poured herself a cup of tea. Hamura Mitsuharu took a sip of tea. His hands were shaking as he said, Maybe, we were wrong from the beginning. Koharu was taken aback, but she didn't take it seriously and said, Tailed beasts originally belonged to the village. As the village's manager, what's wrong with taking the village's power into our own hands? Hamura Mitsuharu put down the cup and said, But he, after all, is that person's child. Speaking of that person, Koharu frowned. Even she couldn't help but admire that person. After a little hesitation, she complained, It's all Danzo's fault. It's his fault. She raised her hand and took a sip of tea, then spat it out and frowned, This tea doesn't taste right. Hamura Mitsuharu said calmly, It's not the tea that tastes wrong, it's the air here. Koharu was alert and stopped breathing. She wanted to use chakra to protect her body, but she found that she couldn't control chakra. Hamura, you. Hamura Mitsuharu calmly drank a cup of tea and said, I'm also poisoned. I came earlier than you and the poison is deeper. Koharu shouted, Who is it? Come out. A voice sounded, If I come out just because you asked me to, wouldn't I lose face? The Umbu ninjas were on alert. Koharu's pupils dilated in shock. Naruto. How could it be Naruto? He's not. Alert. Koharu shouted, and the Umbu ninjas pulled out their swords and guarded their surroundings. At the same time, they retreated to guard Koharu and Hamura Mitsuharu. But unexpectedly, one of the Umbu ninjas suddenly put his sword on Koharu's neck. He said, I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. Pay back the 30 million you owe me. Chapter 277. Outside the wood leaf shelter, there was a constant roaring sound. Inside the shelter, debris fell from the roof from time to time. However, the 4 walls were supported by steel pillars. Unless it was hit by a Bijudama, the shelter should not collapse. You're only doing this for 30 million Ryo? Koharu tried to slow down her tone to prevent Naruto from cutting off her head in desperation. Naruto smiled and said, If you don't have 30 million silver coins, I will kill your entire family. This sentence was very domineering. Koharu and Hamura's heart jumped at the same time. However, the 2 of them were also very good ninjas when they were young. Although they weren't as old as Danzo, they still went through a lot of ups and downs. Even if their psychological quality has regressed a bit in recent years because of power, they still have the confidence to fight. Koharu sneered, "You think you can do it? Not to mention anything else, although your sword is on my neck, you are also in prison. If you make a move against me, the other 4 Umbu will also dismember your body." Naruto sneered, "Why don't you try?" As he said that, the sword in his hand stabbed into Koharu's right shoulder. The sword was sharp and pierced through. Koharu shouted, "Stupid!" Instead of retreating, she took a step forward and stabbed a dagger into Naruto's chest. She sneered, "You didn't directly attack my vitals. You are really stupid beyond cure." The Umbu ninja's mask spat out a lot of blood. At the same time, the 4 ninjas behind him cut off his head and limbs. Koharu looked down at the dismembered body on the ground and raised her hand to remove the mask on her face. Shock. It was not Naruto's face. Koharu lowered her head and checked her face to see if there was any disguise on her face. At this time, the last of the 4 ninjas stabbed the back of the first 2 ninjas, piercing through their hearts. The 2 ninjas who were hit didn't immediately fall down. Instead, they fought back and chopped the ninja behind them into pieces. At this point, 3 ninjas were killed. Koharu took a few steps back. Seeing that there was only 1 ninja left, Koharu cursed in her heart. What the hell is going on? Was there someone else in Woodleaf who wanted her dead? Did he change the Umbu ninja around her? At this time, Naruto's voice came from the mouth of the only living ninja. "What? Didn't you say you could kill me? I'm still alive, but your men are all dead." After saying that, the Umbu ninja walked to Koharu's side and held his katana horizontally. "A meaningless counterattack will only make you die more miserably later, so it's better to think about my proposal and return my 30 million back to me." Homura, who had been silent for a long time, finally said, "It's the spirit transformation jutsu. I didn't expect you to have mastered such a forbidden jutsu." However, Naruto didn't admit it. He casually said, "Who knows?" What made his liver hurt even more was that he had chosen to stand on Naruto's side and trap his other self. If his other self knew about this, he would definitely fight him to the death. Naruto comforted him. "It's just a few fights. Don't worry, I'll help you. With Wood Meld, I can teach him how to be a fox in a matter of minutes." "Wood Meld?" Nine-Tails's eyes lit up. He said happily, "That sounds like a good idea." Then, his face darkened. "You've grown up, haven't you? Are you going to teach me how to be a fox in a matter of minutes one day?" Naruto immediately flattered him. "How can that be? You're my teacher, and the other one isn't. I can still tell the difference." Nine-Tails raised his eyebrows. He seriously suspected that he had been tricked by Naruto. But then again, even if he didn't agree, what could he do? To some extent, his restrictions on Naruto were limited. On the contrary, Naruto's restrictions on him were getting bigger and bigger. Extremely worried, Nine-Tails emphasized, "Hey, if you dare to use Wood Meld on me, I'll definitely beat you to death if I have the chance." Naruto nodded repeatedly and repeated, "You can only beat the other one, right?" Nine-Tails smiled slyly. "It's okay to beat the other one. To some extent, the other me can be considered an independent entity, just like when I was divided from 1 into 9. While Naruto was talking, the doppelganger used the perception enchantment to find the secret compartment in the ground. It was a small mechanism hidden under the carpet that pushed the floor. Naruto controlled the doppelganger and used the feedback from the perception enchantment to successfully crack it. Below, there was a wooden box wrapped in cloth. Under the perception enchantment, Naruto could clearly perceive the situation inside the wooden box. There was no mechanism. When the wooden box opened, there was a stack of banknotes. "That's it? Isn't it too simple?" Naruto was about to let the doppelganger retreat, but suddenly, he stopped the doppelganger. No. Why would Mitokado cooperate with him? Because of the lives of his relatives? In Naruto's knowledge, Mitokado Homura wasn't from a big family, and he didn't have any relatives or friends. Could it be that this room has a bigger secret? Something more precious? Or maybe it's Koharu's home. At this moment, in the spiritual network, Gurney suddenly said, Master, the mission failed. The clone was saved by Hinata's father, and Hyuga Hayashi was seriously injured. For a moment, Naruto didn't care if Mitokado Hamura was hiding something and quickly asked, Tell me the details. P.S. Xiao Zhao Book Friends Group, 6275766058. Fan title, Zhao Army, Simplified Chinese. There's a red packet for Chinese New Year. Chapter 278. Hinata's clone didn't die, and his father-in-law was scratched by 9 tails in place of Hinata. When Naruto saw the image sent by Gunny, he couldn't make any other expression other than speechless. Fortunately, the injury wasn't too serious. From his perspective as a medical ninja, the puncture in the abdomen didn't damage any important organs. He should be fine after lying in bed for a month or 2. Master, what should I do? I'm now surrounded by everyone, and Kakashi, Sensei is also by my side. It seems I won't die for a while. At this time, Nine Tails' roar suddenly became shrill. Naruto looked up, and he could vaguely see Nine Tails roaring in pain. But in fact, he wasn't attacked. Naruto knew that this was because of the slow-acting poison he put in the clone. Naruto looked at the time, and 5 minutes have already passed. Nine Tails is about to die. It seems that this scene can't go on. At this time, Gunny suggested, how about we add a scene where she commits suicide for love? Naruto stopped him. There's still a difference between the clone and the original body, and as long as a medical ninja is careful enough, they can detect it. That's why I plan to use Kyuubi's hand to destroy the clone in front of everyone to cover up the traces, Gunny continued to suggest. Then, do you want to set yourself on fire at night? The corner of Naruto's mouth twitched. This seems like a way. It's just that his future father-in-law's abdomen is still punctured. If his daughter suddenly commits suicide, he might die of anger. Forget it, you continue to control the clone first. As for Hinata, I'll think of a way later. What about Sakura Haruno's clone? Gunny replied proudly, It has been flattened by 9 Tails, it's definitely dead. Naruto, so, there's finally a success. You guys continue to act according to the situation. Remember, Hinata's clone doesn't talk much. I'll sneak into the enchantment department to change something, and then meet up with you guys. Naruto's clone's lifespan was nearing the end, and 9 Tails was madly wailing for his final revenge. A lot of houses collapsed, but not many people really died. After all, most of the buildings near the Umbu department were important mechanisms, and there were no civilians at all, only ninjas. After another 5 minutes, 9 Tails finally couldn't struggle anymore and fell to the ground. What happened? Why did 9 Tails suddenly fall? Don't worry about it. Quick. Someone from the sealing class, reseal Kyuubi. A group of ninjas rushed. But when they got close, they found a corpse. Sighed. It's too late. Human Pillar Force is dead. Not long after, the corpses of Koharu, Mitokado Hamura, and 5 Umbu ninjas were found. Woodleaf was in a mess for a while. Orochimaru No. 7 Laboratory, a laboratory built in a valley in the outskirts of Woodleaf. A corpse coffin opened, and Hinata slowly woke up. Hinata blinked. Here. Woodleaf has already appeared? Naruto shook his head and told Hinata what happened. When he mentioned that Hyuga Hisashi blocked a fatal attack for the clone, Hinata became nervous. Naruto comforted her, Don't worry too much, the injury is not serious, just a little more serious than a flesh wound, it will be fine after 2 months of rest, but, come and take a look yourself. Naruto turned his head and said to Gunny, Gunny, establish a visual connection with Hinata. Gunny did as he was told, and then the image in front of Hinata changed. In the ward, Hyuga Hayashi was lying on the bed, muttering silently, Hinata, why aren't you saying anything? Haven't you forgiven your father yet? I know I didn't care much about you in the past, and I implicated your uncle's death on you. I blindly thought that if it wasn't for your birthday, if you didn't run into the courtyard and get caught by those Kumogakure bastards, your uncle wouldn't have died. This made you suffer too much from my unreasonable scolding during your childhood, but Daddy loves you. When I saw you in danger, cough, cough. Hyuga Hayashi coughed violently. As soon as he coughed, a tearing pain came from his wound. It was bearable, but his forehead was still covered with sweat. At the same time, his face was pale because of excessive blood loss. Sigh. Well, I guess you're not in a good mood because of Naruto's death. You don't have to accompany me, go and rest. Guni controlled Hinata's clone and left. In the number 7 laboratory, Hinata's tears fell like rain. The dissatisfaction he had with his family and the grievances he had suffered all these years disappeared the moment he saw his father lying on the hospital bed. Naruto sighed. The old man seems to need you more than I do. I'm afraid that at this time, the clone will die again, and he will die from anger. So, Hinata's heart skipped a beat, and she looked at Naruto with tears in her eyes. Naruto-kun, Hinata's heart was suddenly in a mess. On one hand, she wanted to leave with Naruto, but on the other hand, she wanted to stay and take care of her father. At least, she wanted to take care of him until he was discharged from the hospital. Naruto encouraged her, "Don't worry, if you choose to stay, I will also support you." And 9 Tails hurt your father. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Hinata buried her head in Naruto's arms. Hinata doesn't blame Naruto-kun. When will Naruto-kun leave? Naruto raised his hand and hugged Hinata. He will leave soon. After all, such a big thing happened in Woodleaf. He will definitely send a message to Jiraiya. When he comes back, the possibility of my whereabouts being discovered is very high. Leave soon. Is it that urgent? Hinata hugged Naruto and said, "Then, will we meet again?" Naruto rubbed Hinata's head. "Don't be silly, we will definitely meet again, and when we meet again, we will be together forever." Hinata's depressed heart felt a little better. Then Naruto reminded her, "The people in Woodleaf may ask you something, just refuse if you can. With your father and the entire Hyuga clan, I don't think anyone will force you to ask anything. If they force you, or Jiraiya asks you something, just say that you only know that I was taken away before I died." Seeing that Hinata's face was still full of reluctance, Naruto comforted her, "Don't you still have the spiritual network and the summoning card? If you miss me one day, just tell me, and I will summon you to my side." Hinata nodded. But she sighed in her heart, "But I'm starting to miss you now." Then, using the store manager's house as a transit point, Hinata and the clone were exchanged and returned to the hospital to take care of Hyuga Hayashi. Naruto took Guni and the other 2 out of Woodleaf. "In the spiritual network," Summer said playfully, "summon me if you miss me." Naruto grinned and said, "Okay, Sister Summer, when I get there, you will be the first to be summoned." Big Fatty immediately followed, "Me too. Boss, don't leave me here." Naruto replied, "Don't worry, it won't take long." After Naruto left Konoha, the news of the death of Kyuubi's Jinchuriki spread like a gust of wind across various countries. Among them, including the Country of Rain. In the Country of Rain, Pain Yahiko was wearing a black robe with fiery clouds and said expressionlessly, "Nine Tails' human pillar force is dead. It will take a while for 9 Tails to be resurrected. It seems that our plan will have to be postponed." A woman with bluish-purple hair, also wearing a black robe with fiery clouds, replied, "In that case, the plan to eliminate the underground exchange is not in a hurry." Yahiko was taken aback. "Not in a hurry? Don't you want the 600 billion explosive tags very much?" Conan's eyes drooped slightly. "But there is no need for it. Besides, the longer we delay, the more they will stockpile." Yahiko said, "But we can't continue to indulge them. The power of destruction is only safe in the hands of God." Chapter 279. 4 strange guests had arrived at the Snow Kingdom's royal city. They were wearing snow-white hooded cloaks. Their hats were very large and covered most of their faces. They were also wearing masks, so no matter what angle they were from, it was impossible to see their faces. They could only tell that 3 of them were tall and 1 was short. What was even stranger was that their queen had personally come out to greet them. She even appeared very polite and courteous as she personally led the way for them. "When I received your letter, I thought you were joking with me." After walking into a room and closing the door, Windy Snow did not put on the airs of a queen at all. She placed her hands on her hips, looking completely defeated. The person wrapped in the cloak took off his hood and mask. He smiled and said, "Now that you see that I'm really here, you won't go back on your word, right?" Windy Snow stared at the person in front of her. Although the voice was very familiar, the height of 1.7 meters, the golden hair, the clean cheeks. No matter what, he did not match up with the little brat she had seen that day. She exclaimed, "You're Naruto?" Originally, Windy Snow had thought that little Gunny was Naruto. Who would have thought? Naruto laughed heartily and said, "That's me. How is it? Have I become a lot taller and more handsome in just a few days?" Windy Snow's eyes widened in disbelief as she asked again, "Are you really Naruto?" Naruto rubbed his nose awkwardly. "What? Am I so handsome that you can't recognize me?" Windy Snow was speechless for a long time before pinching herself. After confirming that the pain was not a dream, she yelled, "We've been away for less than a year. How could a short winter melon grow so fast? What brand of fertilizer did you eat?" Naruto's lips twitched awkwardly. Did I grow very fast?" At this moment, the other 3 people also took off their cloaks. Little Guinness pouted and said, "Big brother Naruto is growing really fast. At first, you were only a little taller than me, but now you're much taller. Did you really eat the fertilizer, big brother Naruto?" Naruto rolled his eyes and helplessly said, "All right, I seem to be growing a little fast, but the main reason is that I was affected by some kind of energy. There's nothing I can do about it." She then changed the topic. "All right, let's not dwell on my height. I only told you a part of it in the letter. I didn't go into the details of the other part because I was afraid of leaking the secret. Now, I need to tell you in detail. Then, as the queen, you can reconsider whether or not you want to keep us." Naruto and the others were led to a seat by Wineflower Little Snow. Wineflower Little Snow poured tea for them as she listened to Naruto. At first, he was careless, but later on, his whole body froze. The tea in his hand was not even soaked in the boiling water. Little Guinness stared at the pot of hot water and waited for a long time, wondering if he should snatch the teapot. Naruto finished his narration. Wineflower Little Snow was still in a daze. Naruto said, "Yes, that's how it is. You can think about it carefully before you answer. However, you can only think about it for yourself. This matter cannot be announced, so there's no need to hold a meeting." Wineflower Little Snow finally came back to her senses and asked dumbly, "So, you betrayed the village?" Naruto calmly nodded and said, "To be precise, they don't know that I'm still alive, but it's not wrong to say that I betrayed the village." Wineflower Little Snow blinked dumbly and said, "You killed the 2 Woodleaf elders before betraying the village?" Naruto calmly said, "They were the ones who wanted to die." Wineflower Little Snow took a deep breath and said, "All right. I understand. You came to me because you had nowhere else to go, right? Don't worry, I'll take you in." This time, it was Naruto's turn to be surprised. Seeing how hesitant Wineflower Little Snow was, Naruto thought that this matter was most likely going to end. He couldn't help but ask, "You don't want to think about it anymore?" Wineflower Little Snow replied, "What's there to think about? Snow Country is just a small place. There are only about 10,000 people in the entire city, and that's an approximate number. You guys are just enough to make up for the difference." After saying that, Wineflower Little Snow looked at the 3 girls and asked, "These 3 are—" Naruto introduced them. "Sorry, I forgot to introduce them. They are my assistants. This is Big Gunny, this is Gunny, and this is Little Gunny." Hearing the names of the 3 girls, Wineflower Little Snow's mouth twitched. She looked like she had eaten sage asterisk tea and said, "Even if you want to hide their identities, can't you think of a better name?" My Ardea and Little Air's names are more unique than theirs. Little Gunny tilted her head and said, Who is Arda? Little Cat. Then, Wineflower Little Snow opened the window and whistled, Chirp, chirp, chirp. Then, with a whoosh, 2 snow eagles, one white and one gray, flew in. The white one was very large and was half the height of a human, while the gray one only reached the white one's chest. Wineflower Little Snow called out, Come Ardea and Little Air, say hello to your brothers and sisters. Thus, the 2 snow eagles glared at everyone. Stare. Little Gunny was overjoyed. She skipped over to the snow eagles and clapped her hands. Hello, I'm Little Gunny. You can be called Big White and Little Gray from now on. Naruto couldn't help but laugh out loud. This reminded him of the time when he caught Big Fatty. He had already thought of the name Hedwig, but Little Gunny changed it to Big Fatty. And the snake named Voldemort was also changed to Shameless. Wineflower Little Snow put her hands on her waist and said, Hey, little girl, these are my eagles. Little Gunny pouted and said, But Big White and Little Gray sound better. Seeing that the 2 were about to start a fight, Naruto came to the rescue. All right, Sister Little Snow, don't lower yourself to the same level as a little girl. This little girl is very fickle. But where did you find these 2 handsome eagles? Wineflower Little Snow glared at Little Gunny and explained, It's a coincidence. When the geothermal system of the Snow Kingdom was being upgraded for the 3rd time, these 2 little idiots fell from the sky because of Chakra's attack. I was going to bring them home and order them to be roasted and eaten, but then I saw that they were quite intelligent, so I decided to keep them. After that, they stuck to me and refused to leave. After introducing Ardea and Little Air, Wineflower Little Snow asked again, Are their names really Gunny? Naruto nodded seriously. Fine. Wineflower Little Snow was defeated again. Then, do you need me to do anything for you? Do you have any needs in life? I will try my best to satisfy them. Naruto shook his head and said, You don't have to trouble yourself with that. We can find a place to stay ourselves. The big snow mountain behind the Snow Kingdom is not bad. I will stay there for a while. Also, I want to talk to Sister Little Snow about a deal that will increase the income of the Snow Kingdom. Wineflower Little Snow was stunned and asked with uncertainty, A deal? The Snow Kingdom has only accepted some movie deals recently. We don't have any other specialties. The movie deals were still Wineflower Little Snow's connections. Plus, her second movie had brought her some popularity. Other than that, the income of the Snow Kingdom could be said to be miserable. After all, this was a cold land that was frozen all year round. There were no agricultural products to be had. To make a living, they had to rely on fishing by the sea and selling ice in the inland. How pitiful. Naruto smiled and said, It's about the movie industry. I have a technology that allows the audience to be immersed in the movie. It's great. You will definitely like it. Chapter 280. Snow Country, within 10 kilometers of the capital, under the unique chakra geothermal system of the Snow Country, it was full of spring. 10 kilometers away, it was perpetually frozen ground. At a glance, whether it was the mountains or the trees, the sky was white, and the ground was white for thousands of miles. The snowy mountain that Naruto chose was a high mountain 50 kilometers away from the Snow Country. It was 2,000 meters above sea level and covered in snow. There was very little vegetation, and the entire mountain was bare except for snow. Thus, Windy Snow didn't agree with Naruto staying here. In her opinion, there was no difference between living on a mountain and living on a block of ice. However, 1 month later, to Windy Snow's shock, Naruto dug out the mountain. Naruto didn't plan to live on the mountain, but in the mountain. How was that possible? Don't tell me. You guys dug out the mountain in 1 month? The snowy mountain was more than 1,000 meters above sea level, and it was cone-shaped all the way to the top, leaving behind a large cone-shaped stone pillar in the middle. The rest of the mountain was almost completely hollowed out, leaving only a cross-shaped passage every 100 meters. The cross-shaped passage was connected to the mountain, and around it was a 50-meter wide stone platform that spiraled all the way to the top. Overall, Windy Snow felt that what she saw was a completely hidden stronghold in the mountain. With such a big lineup, Kono couldn't help but believe Naruto's various ideas a month ago. In Naruto's plan, other than helping her complete the upgrade of the movie format, he also wanted to build a special research facility in the Snow Country. A research facility to research something similar to chakra armor. Windy Snow didn't really understand, but she could imagine it. However, she didn't take it seriously at the time. Naruto put his hands on his waist and said proudly, "How is it? My place of residence isn't any worse than your palace, right?" Windy Snow looked at the sky and said, "What's that light up there?" Naruto explained, "Sunlight. The top of the mountain has been hollowed out, and there are 12 circular skylights around the 9th layer of the mountain. This way, as long as it's daytime, sunlight can always shine in." "How is it? Not a bad idea, right?" "Not bad. It was simply too shocking." Little Snow followed behind Naruto as they walked up the stairs, watching Naruto's extravagance. When he reached the 8th floor, he was completely stunned by the scene before him. The skylight had a diameter of 100 meters. Standing in front of it, one could directly see the outside. In the middle, there was only a thick and extremely transparent ice wall. No wonder there was no wind blowing in. That was what Feng Hua Snowy thought. But how did such a big, thick, and translucent piece of ice come into existence? Since Windflower Little Snow was confused, Naruto demonstrated his ice escape. Snowy couldn't help but sigh, "You're so strong. I can't imagine why Wood Leaf and the others would want to harm you." Naruto answered straightforwardly, "Because they are idiots." Then, the two of them continued to walk up. Finally, they saw the largest skylight at the top of the mountain on the 11th floor. It was a huge layer of ice with a diameter of nearly 1,000 meters and looked like it was embedded in a rock. Although Naruto said it was very safe, Windflower Little Snow didn't dare to stand on the skylight for too long. She was afraid that it would fall. After the tour, the two of them once again discussed the matter from a month ago. However, compared to last time when they were full of flirtatious words, the two of them were much more formal this time. In the conference room on the 9th floor, there was a huge metal platform supported by 12 6-meter-thick iron pillars. It was transparent all around. Through the gaps between the 12 pillars, one could directly see the corresponding 12 skylights. Sitting here, it was as if one could overlook the entire Snow Country. Windflower Little Snow was actually a little nervous at this moment. "So, you really want to do research here?" Naruto nodded. Windflower Little Snow took a deep breath. She was now a little hesitant about Naruto's so-called research. She pretended to be relaxed and said, "Anyway, it doesn't matter if it's research interests or interests. As long as it's not some taboo or war machine, it's fine." Naruto smiled honestly and said, "What I want to research might very well be taboo or war machine." Windflower Little Snow choked. Then, Naruto handed over some of the metal suits that he had sorted out to Windflower Little Snow and said, "I told you last time. It's somewhat similar to the chakra suit of Snow Country, but it's much more advanced than the one in Snow Country." Windflower Little Snow didn't dare to open it. She hesitated and said, "Why are you telling me? If you're secretly researching it, I won't know." Naruto was attracted by Windflower Little Snow's words and her cuteness. "Because I don't want to hide it from you. I've researched some of these things in the Wood Leaf. However, just a part of it attracted some people's attention. I thought that if I continued to research it, I might be caught and locked in a small black room, so I ran away." "You don't want to hide it from me?" Hearing this, Windflower Little Snow was a little happy. "Then, the technology you showed me last time that allowed me to immerse myself in the movie was also developed by you?" Last time, Naruto had shown Windflower Little Snow a little something called the mental link. The client was a pair of glasses, the mental link glasses. The user didn't need to be connected to the mental network. As long as they wore the glasses, they could see some magical images. Those images were processed films. Because the medium of transmission was not projected onto a film, both the color and the clarity of the images were far superior to that of the cache technology. In Naruto's words, this was only the beginning. If the film was processed into 3D, then the images would be even more magical. At the same time, the glasses could also be used to create a shallow mental link. This way, they could even break through the visual restoration and do some research on other aspects such as sight and smell. Yes, but that's just a small application of the research results. In a few days, when I break through the other technical difficulties, you will be able to see everything I told you before. Windflower Little Snow's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. As an actress, she could predict that if that kind of thing really came out, it would have a huge impact on the current film industry. She couldn't help but ask, how long? Naruto said confidently, 1 month is enough. In addition, in my plan, this new type of movie will use your fame as a springboard to develop Snow Country into the largest tourist city. Alright, you can also work with the director from before. With his help, the impact will be even greater. Speaking of that director, Windflower Little Snow's eyes lit up. He's currently filming in Snow Country. Then, she couldn't help but feel a little dejected. It's a pity that the female lead of that movie isn't me. How could Naruto not know that the director was in Snow Country? Canon Chiba's letter said that the second movie was in Snow Country. He smiled. That's good. You can talk to him. As for who the female lead is, it doesn't matter at all. You can use her popularity to launch this new type of movie. When the time comes, there will definitely be some rich people who will come after hearing about it. Hearing this, Windflower Little Snow's eyes couldn't help but light up again. Then, she was a little worried. But, this kind of technology won't be learned by outsiders, right? Naruto rubbed his chin. That will depend on our confidentiality. But don't worry, I have a way to make it so that no one can take this technology away. Windflower Little Snow finally made a decision. Then, let's start our cooperation. As for your research, it's fine as long as it doesn't bring about a calamity to Snow Country. Can you guarantee that? Naruto said coolly, if someone comes looking for trouble, I will get rid of them. In Snow Country's special environment, even if a shadow-level person comes, I have a way to kill him with ice mountains. This was the reason why Naruto chose Snow Country. Chapter 281. After sending Kazeka Koyuki away, Naruto began to buy his belongings. First of all, he had to move the cloning laboratory. The cloning laboratory was located in the basement, which was not open to the public. Naruto followed Orochimaru's idea, and the way to the basement was only a hole that a snake could enter. In the spiritual network, Naruto said to Yakushi, "Are you ready? If you are, I'll let my clone summon you." Yakushi replied, "All the research equipment has been packed since the power failure yesterday, and can be transferred at any time." Naruto's clone took the summoning card and went into the snake hole, and arrived at the basement 1 minute later. However, the first one summoned was not Yakushi, but Naruto. In the next moment, Naruto appeared in the basement, and the 3 girls also joined in the fun and asked Naruto to summon them. The cloning laboratory was not a secret to the 3 girls, so Naruto directly summoned them. Then he began to summon Yakushi. A circle of light appeared in Orochimaru's laboratory number 9 of the Woodleaf Ninja Village. Naruto used his psychic sharing with Kabuto to observe the size of the aperture. It was only 1 meter in diameter, and all the goods added up to 15 meters. They were tied together with ropes and piled up tightly. The height was 2 meters. 9 llamas, Sensei, I'm counting on you. Pass chakra to Yakushi and expand the circle of light. 9 Tails reminded him, let's make a deal. I'll help you move these things, but you have to prepare a set of ovens and pastries in the kitchen. Naruto nodded helplessly and agreed, okay, didn't I promise you, don't worry. Then 9 Tails used the spiritual link with Naruto to inject chakra from the spiritual network into Yakushi's body. For a time, the card on Yakushi's body lit up, and the circle of light under his body expanded from 1 meter, and soon wrapped all the goods in it. The The circle of light rose and turned into a 2-meter-high beam of light. 3, 2, 1. Boom. All the experimental equipment and the pharmacist's pouch disappeared from laboratory number 9 at the same time. When they reappeared, they were already in the first basement of the snowy mountain. At the same time, in Wood Leaf Ninja Village, Hyuga Hayashi was finally discharged from the hospital after 2 months. Hinata personally handled the discharge procedures for her father. On the way home, Hinata said, "Well, I don't want to be a ninja anymore. Being a ninja is not something that can be done easily. If that was the case, there wouldn't be so many rebellious ninjas in the world." However, these rules obviously couldn't restrain the young lady of the Hyuga main family. Hyuga Hayashi listened to Hinata's words and said casually, "If you don't want to, then don't. I will tell them to cancel your registration information." Hinata looked up. "How long will it take?" Hayashi was taken aback. "Is this matter urgent?" However, Hinata rarely made requests to him, so she said straightforwardly, "If you want to hurry up, let's go to the Naruto building?" Hinata nodded. "Okay." So the father and daughter changed direction and walked towards the Naruto building. Hinata was silent along the way, but she was also very obedient. She would answer Hayashi's questions seriously. Hayashi was already very satisfied. After all, the brat who took his daughter's heart had just died. But he didn't care about this. Who didn't experience a few failed relationships when they were young? He believed that his daughter would soon get back on her feet. As for not wanting to be a ninja, he didn't care. Even if Hinata didn't say it, he would take the initiative to mention it. After all, being a ninja was a high-risk profession. And the Hyuga clan had already sent a lot of manpower to Wood Leaf, so he didn't need to put his daughter in it. Stepping into the ninja building, they heard a burst of noise. Most of it was Jiraiya's voice, as if he was reprimanding someone. The father and daughter knocked on the door and walked into Naruto's office. Jiraiya roared, "I'll let you inherit Naruto's position." Opposite Jiraiya, Kakashi Hatake replied with an expressionless face, "I'm not suitable, and I can't inherit such an important position." Jiraiya let Kakashi-sensei inherit Naruto's position? Hinata looked at Kakashi. Kakashi's face was lonely at this time, listless, and a little unkempt. It was the first time she saw Kakashi-sensei like this. It could be seen that Naruto's death was a big blow to Kakashi. Hinata's heart was a little distressed for Kakashi-sensei. She even had the impulse to tell Kakashi-sensei that Naruto was still alive, but Hinata also knew that she couldn't do this, because it would disrupt Naruto's plan. Jiraiya still wanted to teach Kakashi a lesson, but when he saw Kakashi coming in, he glared at Kakashi. "I'll teach you a lesson later, kid." He turned his head and greeted Hyuga Hayashi. "Oh, it's Hayashi, have you recovered from your injury?" Jiraiya was born 9 years earlier than Hyuga Hayashi, so he was a real elder brother, so he called him casually even if he was the patriarch of the Hyuga main family. Hyuga Hayashi replied, "Thanks for Jiraiya-sama's concern, I'm fine now. I'm here today to cancel Hinata's ninja registration." Cancel ninja registration? Jiraiya looked at Hinata. A month ago, he asked Hinata about Naruto. Then the matter was traced back to Kakashi, and Kakashi was very tight-lipped at first. However, Jiraiya used his identity as Naruto's proxy to pry out the problem. He learned that after he left, the 2 elders of the Wood Leaf clan actually wanted to extract the 9 tails from Naruto's body, which caused the 9 tails riot. There were many witnesses on the scene, so this matter was finalized. As for how Udatane Koharu and Mitokado Hamura died, he was too lazy to investigate. He casually found a reason that he was old and weak, and died of fright. "You don't want to be a ninja anymore?" Jiraiya asked Hinata. Hinata lowered her head and said, "I don't want to." "Was it because of Naruto's incident?" Jiraiya sighed. "If you don't want to, then don't." Then Jiraiya directly called the person in charge of ninja registration over and gave a few instructions. With a few words, Hinata's ninja identity was cancelled. Then Jiraiya turned his head and comforted, go home and have a good rest for a while. If you change your mind, you can re-register as a ninja. Hinata lowered her head and nodded. At this time, Kakashi suddenly said, I don't want to be a ninja anymore. Cancel me too. Jiraiya's anger suddenly exploded, and he turned his head and shouted, Go to hell. Kakashi. Jiraiya glared at Kakashi a few times, then turned his head and said, Is there anything else? If not, I will continue to educate this stinky boy. Hayashi bowed and thanked him. I have troubled Jiraiya-sama. I will take my daughter away. As soon as the father and daughter left Naruto's office, Jiraiya's roar came from behind. Today, even if you don't agree, Naruto will have to agree. Kakashi continued to refuse. I don't want to be a ninja anymore. Jiraiya roared, Believe it or not, I will beat you until you agree. Then there was a burst of punches and kicks from behind. Hyuga Hayashi took Hinata's hand and left quickly. In the spiritual network, Hinata said, Naruto-kun, Kakashi, sensei was beaten. Naruto, who was busy arranging the laboratory, was stunned. Huh? Who in Woodleaf can beat him now? Hinata replied, Jiraiya-sama. Then there was no news from Naruto on the other side of the spiritual link. Hinata thought that Naruto was worried about Kakashi, sensei. But in fact, Naruto was indeed worried for a second. But Kakashi was beaten. Why does it sound so funny? Naruto chewed a few times and couldn't help but laugh out loud. It was followed by a neurotic laugh. His body bent like a shrimp, and he laughed while holding his stomach. Finally, he rolled around and laughed. He rolled around and laughed. Wahahaha. I'm dying of laughter. Kakashi, you have a day like this. Good beating. Give him a good beating. This is what you get for Tion electrocuting me. You got your retribution. Finally, tears of laughter flowed out. Naruto laughed. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.